In 1911, Prince Albert I of Monaco decided that he wanted to create a motor racing competition. He decided on the format of Rally Monte-Carlo, which was an event that brought many people from many countries traveling over 1,000 kilometers to compete in the event, where they were judged not only on performance but also elegance and comfort of their vehicles. Today's motor racing event won't be comfortable for our drivers. However, it will be spectacular. Joining me in the commentary box is Joseph Simmons. How is it going for you today?
It's going great. This is my debut in the WRC segment of the Creator Series, so I'm very excited to get involved. And I've heard a lot about the Monte Carlo track, so I'm excited to see what happens.
And indeed, we will have a competition with snow on the ground. We are competing in winter conditions in Monte Carlo, as we have a bit of a mini heat wave in Europe. So it'll be refreshing for us to watch the snow on screen at least. But yes, our drivers will have to tackle 9 stages today, of which about half of them are in night conditions. So very variable conditions, very difficult as well, because we will be driving rear-wheel drive H2 cars on the broadcasts today, and many different car choices, actually. One of the different things between a Formula One game and here is that the car performance matters a lot. So we've got people in the Alpine today, people in the Talbot Sunbeam, other choices being the Ford Escort, but many, many more to choose from. So it's going to be an amazing, amazing experience. Now, your experience is with rear-wheel drive cars, but more of the Formula kind. Do you think you'll be able to find many similarities between the two types of events today?
I think the skills are transferable. We've seen a couple of drivers come over from the Formula cars and have demonstrated quite good abilities, not just in real life, but also in the Creator Series in the last few weeks. Obviously, Watts coming over, downloading the game about an hour before his debut last week, and towards the end, it really looked like he was getting the hang of it. So I think in terms of the skills, there's a transfer. Everything else, though, is vastly different.
Indeed, we've seen it in real life as well with drivers like Kimi Raikkonen, Robert Kubica, transitioning over to Rally, doing decently well, it must be said, for both of them. However, they always managed to not have that sort of consistency that a rally driver has. We've said it before. Rally driving is about mastering driving at 90%, which most Formula One drivers will say is a load of nonsense. But indeed, today they will have to be extra, extra careful with the transitioning of grip, effectively equating it to transitioning from dry to wet on a Formula One game in the split second, maybe 10 seconds. So a very difficult sort of experience for our drivers, some of which, as you said, have come from the Formula One game. Guat's definitely surprised us all, I think, on his debut on a very, very difficult rally there. Maybe we can even get some standings up here. So indeed, for the moment, for Vlembar, it's been quite an easy pickings at the top of the list there. He's been on fire, and he is on fire as well on this week's performance. I think he's in the top 10 here. Myself, I will say second place, usual position for me. We have Kamikaze, who I think is not on broadcast this week, but I think he has done his run already, so he'll have points on the board as well. Punju, the creator of all of this, or the instigator, let's call him, is going to put on a decent performance today, I think, in the Fiat 131 Abarth. So this is going to be amazing. Ancephalosis is also on broadcast. GJ as well as Jam ONG, Dark Viper from the top 10, as you can see. But you can see there's the points tally is ever so close. So in the blink of an eye, it can change in a second.
It definitely can, especially considering that in the top sort of few was Ancephalosis last week. So to see his drop off to 5th place, it does demonstrate how quickly things can switch around. And well, obviously you being the consistent one in 2nd place, but everyone else can jump up and down pretty much week to week.
Indeed, I would make a precision there, but consistent but rubbish. Let's put it that way. But yeah, indeed, the performance is very,
Slight
very
left,
close, and I
slowing,
think we already
120.
have Punju on track. So let's see. I think this is a shakedown run actually. So he's just getting the car prepared, checking that everything works. Not really accelerating through the
Three
gears.
right,
We've
half
seen a
on
lot of
tightens,
drivers do this in the
50.
past couple of weeks, actually, saving the tires. So, for context, you can get
Keep
an extra
right,
set of
don't
tires
cut,
by running the
opens,
shakedown course.
50.
However, tire wear does apply to them in the shakedown. They're
Slight
going to be
left,
running,
60.
if they're sensible, they're going to be running the studded
6
tires
left, 40.
today because there's a lot of ice on the
4
track.
left short,
So
30.
getting that extra set of tires and not wearing them out
6
in the
right,
shakedown on
over
this
bump.
tarmac is ever so
And
important.
6 left,
But
70.
knowing a few of the drivers, they are going to take that gamble anyway.
6
But
right, 80.
it's going to be an interesting one to see who does
6 right, keep in,
who does
60.
know how to drive in these conditions, because this is a track where, or this is a rally where
40.
conditions are pretty much variable from stage to stage. So personally, I'm very intrigued to see how they will take this.
Indeed, yes. We will have most stages with at least a sector of ice. So stages divided into 4 or more sectors. And at least either at the start or beginning of the stages as they go up into the hills or down into the valleys, they'll have at least maybe 1 or 2 kilometers of ice, if not more. So the two types of tire choices here, it's a very simple tire choice between studded tires, which are tarmac tires with a couple of hundred studs in them, which offer mild grip on ice, not really that much to be honest, but better than the slick tires. And moderate grip on tarmac, whereas the slicks offer very good grip on tarmac. However, they offer absolutely no grip on ice. So it is possible that some of our drivers take the slick tires. However, I would say, looking at the stages, it's probably very ill advised. But somebody going for a gamble, very, very confident, it might happen. I think the second stint of the rally is going to be the one where they might be able to take it, with 2 stages with very little snow and ice on them compared to the others. However, just for context, also for those new to watching the broadcast, there is a service after every 2 stages, so they'll be able to repair the car and change tires after every service, after every 2 stages. I mean, so at least there is that safety net of being able to get the car back to the finish.
500 finish.
Was my mic off there? I think it was. Yes, it was. I think that I think every 2 stages we will see quite a lot of drivers coming in as well for not just tires but to repair the car, because they the likelihood is, based on last week and based on some of the experience levels of these drivers in these conditions and in these cars in general, we could see a few battered cars on the screen that we can see now. That's a very pristine. Which one's that?
It's pristine at the moment, I must say.
Yes.
DJ and the Opel Cadet there, I think, what was on screen. I think they're all doing their shakedowns. And Jam's still in practice there, so I don't think he's got the memo that we're meant to be starting the stages in a minute. But there you go. He'll have to speedrun the shakedown just to get that extra set of tires. But important to note as well, this is one of the rallies where you can DNF just through driving off of the stage. There are at least 2 or 3 locations that I know of that I'll try and point out during the broadcast where if you do run wide, it will be an automatic DNF. So different to Formula One where you have to hit something to DNF. Here you can just DNF by going exploring the wilderness, and that is a scary proposal for some drivers, that's for sure.
You can't really make a mistake, which is why this is such a prestigious rally, which is why it's such a big event for drivers. And I think it's just going to be some drivers we could see taking it easy. We could see, as it would be in a Monaco Formula race, it's just a race of attrition.
Indeed, a race of attrition for sure. I think, to be honest, going conservative or consistent isn't quite a possibility with these cars, because just of the driving style of the car, maybe. You can be sort of consistent, but you have to be attacking because a rear-wheel drive car on the ice, you have to get it sliding sideways. You have to have that oversteer because understeer is completely unmanageable on the icy or less grippy conditions. So drivers will have to push at least a little bit to keep the car under control. It's a very paradoxical thing compared to some other racing series, but the safety net on this one is going to be set ever so low. And just a look at those lighting conditions. I do love the sunsets and sunrises in this game. They have really nailed the lighting and the vibe of Rally Monte-Carlo, which obviously nowadays starts every single rally season, apart from 2009 to 2011. So the drivers get the most difficult rally thrown straight at them, and I think we have Punju at the race start ready to get going.
That's definitely good. We're looking forward to the Rally de Monte-Carlo. This should definitely be a good one, and we're going to start off with probably one of the more challenging stages.
Indeed, we have Saint-Léger-les-Mélèzes to La Bâtie-Neuve. So many of the... I've got the producer saying glad he knows I know French. Yes, it is indeed. French is my second language, would you believe? But the stage names on Rally Monte-Carlo are frequently named from stage start to stage end. So the stage will start in the village of Saint-Léger-les-Mélèzes, still difficult to pronounce, and will end in La Bâtie-Neuve. So you will see multiple stages with partially the same name because they start in the same place, but they finish in a different village or a different section. So it's very easy to know where the stages are, but just by looking on a map, you can just look up the location of the village. As we saw, Encephalosis having a huge moment there coming out of the village, a very flat out section, but a huge amount of curbs and obstacles and even sleeping policemen there to drive over there. So a very, very tricky start to the stage. This opening section is one of the fastest in Monte-Carlo. You've got to keep it flat out for most of the sections. No ice for the moment, but it will approach soon enough as we got Punju off the road there briefly.
And it's throwing them into the deep end because they have to push pretty much straight away. They don't have an eased in. You know, if they had an easier stage just to find their feet, but they don't really have that. Instead, we've got probably one of the quicker stages that we're going to see tonight. And you can see Punju there, pretty much going up to fifth gear through that corner. And fifth gear is actually incredibly rare to see in Rally. You're more likely to be seeing drivers cycle through the gears. You're not going to see many where they're going to stick in fifth as Punju, just struggling early on to find his lines.
I tell you what, he said he was going to do it. I did not believe him, but he did it. He did it on broadcast, taking risks right from the start. I think this is one of the rallies where Punju can get a really, really good result, as we have Bedrock 2 just getting a tad of oversteer there and nearly hitting the wall on the outside, as Punju 2 wheels on the grass as well. You can see going through this very, very rapid section, you've got walls and rocks on the outside, double apex there for that corner, and you've really got to pay attention, and your eyes have a tendency to look at the obstacles rather than the road, and you get drawn into making a mistake. It's worth noting, Bedrock 2, I think first time on the broadcast of WRC, but having the really bold choice of taking the Sunbeam Lotus there, because it's one of the most difficult cars to drive, and I've jinxed him as he goes straight into a tree. It has begun, everyone. This car is kind of like the Ferrari, the T14 or whatever the 2014 car was called, where understeers and oversteers at the same time. It is a marvel of technology, I can say that.
But I'm sure it'll be. It is difficult to wrangle, but in terms of when you're driving a rally, there is a gap in the market for a car like that where you can, if you get it right. I'm trying to say, to remain positive about it. If you can get it right, it can be definitely beneficial, and I believe if I just bring it up because I've lost it, he may be the only one in the Sunbeam Lotus.
We'll have to double check that. I am not quite sure, I'll be honest. I think IRC JPH, who's new to the broadcast as well, is in the Sunbeam Lotus, unless he has changed his car last minute. But it's definitely a bold choice. It can be fast. but it has two things going against it. One, the differentials of the car is incredibly bad compared to the other cars, let's put it that way. The grip is very inconsistent. And also, it's quite a heavy car. Most of the cars are around the 1,000-kilogram mark, and the Sunbeam Lotus is quite considerably above that, I think by 20 or 30 kilos. GJ straight into the fence there. That is probably a puncture straight away. He might have gotten away with it, but that is devastating news. He's staying. I'm sure that's happened to me before. He's yeah, one of those sections where you just have to commit to the corner, and he got it wrong. And I'm sure he'll be saying to his chat, "I saw that one coming," or something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it's especially this section takes a lot of commitment. This stage takes a lot of commitment in general, but this section where you're pretty much just driving through a village, you're going for a Sunday drive at about 100 kilometers more than
No
you
way.
regularly would.
I just interrupt. Jam has DNF'd on quite possibly the most bland stretch of road I've seen a DNF happen. He just went into the cut the Punju went into, I think, and just kept on driving around, and the game has decided that that is an irrecoverable car. I cannot quite believe that.
I didn't even initially notice it. That's why I didn't mention it straight away. But that's well.
Rally Monte-Carlo is brutal. This rally never fails to entertain, and sadly for Jam, that's going to be a very, very tough DNF to take. You always expect to have a few moments there, but most definitely, I think he was caught out, to be honest, by the oversteer of the Alpine. It's worth noting the Alpine is a rear-engined car, so it's possible that he just got oversteer and couldn't correct it. And unfortunately for Jam, that means he is going to be sat there for another stage, waiting for the other people to catch up. But a bit of a mental reset maybe might be on the cards.
I think he needs a mental reset, because that will be. He looked absolutely devastated, because that wasn't really. It was a very harsh decision to say that was an irrecoverable car, if that's the word that I'm searching for. Because I think he could have brought that back, but there we go. That's it's just one of those things. That's what racing virtually does bring up. There's a few issues that could be found with that sort of thing, and he's just going to have to come back, hopefully, stronger.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we say 90% driving really works out in Rally. I think the way it is calculated in the game is just by distance. There is a set distance away from the road that you can drive, and if you go too far away from that or too far down a ditch, it happens. This was where Punju made that cut, and just getting a wheel on the grass on the outside with the brakes just rotated him. And that was it. He was just down into the ditch. You could see he was recovering the car. He was ready to recover and drive back up the bank. But as he continued to move forward, he just triggered that distance parameter, and it DNF'd him. Very, very, very unfortunate, I must say. As you can see, that ice section now for JPH, this is a treacherous one. There's another corner in about 5 corners time here as he goes around this double hairpin, where you're going to have to be really, really cautious on the brakes, because they basically don't work on the ice downhill.
And that's the difficulty that a lot of the drivers will find, especially in those icy conditions. The fact that the brakes will just won't work on you, and downhill they will work on you even less, especially at the speeds they're going, with him going above 100 miles an hour as Punju, taking risks on that.
IRC JPH, he has been saved by the post. He slid wide. I was just watching the cameras off on our multicam for our broadcast as we got Punju on his roof as well as we switched from Punju. This is chaos. But IRC JPH slid wide on the corner, and he just locked the brakes, couldn't do anything but slid into the post, which stopped him getting a DNF on the exact corner I was commenting on. But Punju just clipping the bank on the inside for context, and it's chaos. It's all happening on this first stage.
Certainly making it difficult for the producer to keep up with the pace of everything that's happening here, because it's all happening at once. I'm struggling to keep up with it as well.
Oh, we could get Jam into an interview, I'm being told in my ear. Let's see if we can get him here on broadcast. Jam, if you can hear us,
Hi, I can hear you.
commiseration. First of all, that is, I've never seen that incident happen before. I did not know you could DNF there, but thank
I
you
did
for
not
beta
know
testing.
Dude, I didn't know. It was the slowest slip in the world. Pretty sure I could fall faster on my own without the car in there. But yeah, I got. Yeah, apparently that's a DNF barrier or something.
Just interrupt you for a second. Punju has gone straight into a pole, flat out, and I think he's got maybe a double puncture from that. So we'll have to wait and see. If that's a double puncture, that's probably a DNF for Punju as well. So just for context, Jam, we have had like 3 or 4 incidents at this point, so you're not the only one. This stage is
Oh,
brutal.
really?
Yeah, what do you think is the reason about this stage being the one that's catching everyone out right from the get-go?
I mean, honestly, the early part of stage 1 is very much quote-unquote dry still, but for me, I don't know, I kind of don't even know how that even happened. But I would expect the cold temperatures as well would make a difference on the traction, and the fact that we're all running winters too might have a play in that as well. Crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult as Punju's gone straight into the finish board as well. It's going from bad to worse for Punju, just for context for you, Jam. This is not good.
Man.
As a question, before I switch over to Joseph, I'm sure he's got a question for you as well. You're in the Alpine, which is rear-wheel drive. You got obviously it's rear-wheel drive, rear-engined is what I meant to say. You got a wheel on the grass which pitched you into that incident. Do you think you could have saved the car if it was a different car?
Probably. This is the first time I'm driving the Alpine in like a long event in this way. Like I've always done it once or twice in like time trials. But yeah, it's definitely a different experience driving the rear engine rear wheel. But I wanted to challenge myself. It was actually pretty decent in practice, but I guess just my brain lagged for like a short moment, and I slipped in.
Indeed. Well, commiserations for that. Joseph, if you've got a question, feel free to ask it.
Well, I was just wondering, because of the fact that you said that you only did the Alpine a couple of times, was there another car that you may have been considering to do?
The Escort. The Escort would have been the close second. Either way, I would say my rear-wheel drive experience is not the best, period. But I don't know, I wanted to challenge it myself and see if I can work with it. I was hoping that I could actually do it, but I did not expect that until the unrecoverable thing happening there. But yeah, I probably would have been okay if I used the Escort. I probably wouldn't be able to save that, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, for now, it's a recovery drive and a chance to learn, maybe experiment and take some risks out there. Now that the overall result, sadly, is a bit out of the window. But hey, heads up, from here on out, you've made the mistakes that you can do, and now it's time to set some of those fast stage times.
Time to send it, I guess, right?
Time to send it, indeed. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and thank you ever so much for joining us on broadcast.
Of course, thank you.
Speaking of sending it, Punju's run the first time round was definitely finding the limits of that car.
I'm trying to find his stage time. I did not manage to catch it on broadcast. But it's not gone well for him, let's put it that way. Bedrock Zoo was in the top 100 of 44th place, but the times are incredibly distant. He's at 44th, but 49 seconds off the lead after one stage. It just proves that the conditions are so treacherous that pushing the car is so difficult.
And yeah, and I think I touched on it earlier. This is a starting. Generally, this is the power stage in the Rallye Monte-Carlo. So the fact that it's being used, as you can see there, the icy conditions getting to Bedrock Zoo, it's like it's reflecting the car off of the surface. But yeah, I think as a starter stage, that was difficult. This could also, with how icy it's looking to be at the start, this could also be equally as difficult.
Yes, this stage is making me chuckle as we got Dark Viper there off into, I think it's a telegraph pole or something it looks like. He's damaged his light, so that's not helping us see. That's in the exact same section that Punjo crashed, by the way. Maybe a corner before, which has not gone well at all for all of our drivers at the moment. We've got some of them into stage 2 at the moment. But yeah, could be better for them. But I think just some people testing the limits a bit too much on that first stage. This stage will also be a stage where they'll have to be careful because it's a stage that is run in time trial, the shortest Monte-Carlo stage in terms of time. But they never run it with ice on time trial. So for some of the drivers, it'll be familiar stage, but different conditions, and they might push a little bit too fast.
I think that we could find that because the difficulty as well with having such a quick stage to get off with is you begin to get used to it at the end. And so the fact that some of them are having to start to slow down now is going to make it a bit more difficult. Punji, though, still full sending it as we would expect into stage 2 now.
Yeah.
Just sliding through. It's difficult for me to get used to the fact that they're actually supposed to slide.
Yeah, it's a completely different driving style. In terms of, you actually want the car to slide quite a bit because rally cars can be set up most of the times with a tiny bit of understeer to help novice drivers. And especially with the rear-wheel drive combo on ice, you have a tendency to have the rear of the car push the car forwards, but the front tires can't keep the grip while turning. So you've got to be quite aggressive getting it to slide. As Dark Viper completes the stage with an 11-minute time, that is off, quite a way off. I think a minute off. In terms of time, and he's just within the top 100 there, but he'll be wanting to do better. In terms of times on the first stage, just going to do a quick recap for what I can see here at least. It's difficult to find them amongst the many competitors we have on these events. But IRC JPH is in the lead of our broadcasters. We've got Bedrock Zoo just straight into the wall where Jam DNF'd there on the inside, so on the other way. That corner catching them out. Very difficult braking zone. So just a quick recap here. ISC JPH in 16th overall with a time 28 seconds off, with GJ right behind him in 17th. As for the other people that I can see, we have Ancephalosis in P33 in the Ford Escort, 40 seconds off the lead. I'm still trying to find the others, but some great times from the get-go from our broadcast drivers here.
And Ancephalosis really, he's just been consistent up there as that's Bedrock Zoo hitting the wall once again. Surely that's a door off, but because of the amount of times that he's banged against it, it's certainly going to be on its hinges. But I think Ancephalosis sticking up there is quite consistent. Those two drivers though at the top really just demonstrating their pace in the early stages, and I think Punju could be trying to climb back up. Bedrock Zoo as well, trying to make an impression. So we've got a lot of drivers ready and waiting to get settled in to the Rallye Monte-Carlo.
Yes, indeed, getting settled in. Just speaking of that, they're approaching stage end here, which was the stage start of stage 1, and descending into the village this time, and going over those speed bumps, as you can see, taking them flat out. The suspension will probably need a fix after that one, but there you go. Oh, Bedrock Zoo, that drift! Right nearly next to the wall, nearly hitting it, Monte-Carlo style, like the Formula 1 track, really. But it's incredible to see them drift these cars. That's why I love the rear-wheel drive cars. You can be so artistic with the driving style. And 20th place there for Punju, 16 seconds off the lead of that stage. I just want to point out, he was only 98th. On the first stage, but that was with a puncture and having a penalty to boot. So actually, he's got a lot of pace in this rally. I think he might be frustrated. Bedrock Zoo, I think 20 seconds there. I'm just going to refresh my page. It was 20 seconds. So these times are incredibly fast. Ancephalosis, P24 on stage 2 as well. So they are going some on this one.
We could even be seeing one take the overall lead. I think that may be wishful thinking, but that would be incredible if we got that later. And the driver's getting a decent start, Punju especially, considering the way that his first stage went. The fact that he was able to climb back up with that second stage, gain all that time back, it gives me hope that he could be especially contending for the top positions in the broadcast.
Indeed. We're going to have him in the interview commentary box here in a second. So, Andrew, joining us, I think, in the broadcast, if he can hear us. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy start to your rally, maybe pushing a little bit above the limit. What was your... what went wrong?
One corner. And all it takes is one corner to go wrong. Honestly, I didn't think I was pushing too hard. But it's that flat out section going downhill. It's very deceptive. It's like when you need to lift and when you don't, and you can just lose grip just out of any moment. And I was just being a little too aggressive and not thinking too much, and yeah, just nosed the heck out of a post and lost that front right, and then had to limp it back. I was lucky, honestly. That limping was a decently quick limp, even with the extra hit, because yeah, at least we made it back and with not too much damage. And now 20th on the second stage. Well, we got time to make it up.
Yeah, your pace is looking electric, and I know this is one of your like combos that you enjoy: rear-wheel drive, some tarmac. Maybe not the icy sections. I don't think people enjoy those too much. They're challenging, but a driver will always say they want to go flat out. Well, flat out on ice can work. Do you think you can make that work?
That's basically what I'm doing. It's a lot of dancing, honestly. I actually prefer the dancing-ish. I feel like it's like this is where the all of the preparation that you do of like low grip racing comes to its proper culmination is ice. And so I think it's like the hardest, but also the like truest form of like impressive low grip racing. And so yeah, I really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with ice.
Yes. Yeah, it is one of the best conditions to drive, I think, in terms of adaptability. Maybe Joseph, you got a question for him?
Well, it certainly looked like a lot of fun. It looked like you sent it pretty much straight off. Is that the way you're going to approach the last 7 stages?
I'd prefer not to send it off anymore, would be ideal. I do have to do some pretty massive repairs, and so, you know, let's obviously hope that my car is fully working and I don't get a penalty out of this. I probably shouldn't. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to be going hard. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be trying pretty hard today to get a good result, because I think we can do pretty well.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, I think we can.
You've managed to get away with no penalty on your damage repair. I've just seen off screen for our broadcast here. So lucky boy. For context, they get 45 minutes per service to repair their car, which is very little time actually. So new car, new events. Does your event start now in terms of a comeback?
I hope so for sure. The next stage, not Ravine de Costabel, but Moisière. I love that stage. So, I'm really excited for that. For me, though, the number one stage out of this entire day is going to be the power stage. Col de Torini is like the iconic Monte-Carlo stage. Everybody knows it. When you think of Monte-Carlo, you think of all the cars driving up the hill with the red flares on the road and the crazy snow and the wild atmosphere. That's Col de Torini is what you think of when you think of Monte-Carlo. And so, we're saving the best for last. It's only 5.5 miles long, but it feels like it's 50, and it's just so much fun. So I'm just trying to keep the car alive until I get there, and with the factory fresh car now, I hope to keep it like this as best as I can.
And on that bombshell, I think it's time for you to go into the next stages. Good luck with that, and yeah, send it as usual.
Thank you, appreciate it, guys.
Well, lovely chat, even though the stage has not gone in his favour. Grat's not going in his favour either, getting a puncture, I think, on the rear of the car, which will give him very limited grip. He was stuck for at least 30 seconds, I think, trying to recover. Yeah, there's a puncture on the rear. Just dodging those posts into there, getting another penalty, but I think I'd take the penalty at that point. That looked scary.
It did. I'm genuinely shocked that wasn't given unrecoverable, and the other one was earlier on. So I think this is going to be very interesting to watch as he drives back to the end of the stage.
Yeah, indeed. I think the reason why it might not have been an unrecoverable car is because he may have encountered some of the NPCs on the side of the road. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it's difficult with the penalties. Obviously, when you make a mistake, the last thing you want is a penalty on top, and you can see that tire completely off of the rim. Sadly. Yeah, it's 2 minutes lost. I was about to say 2 seconds. That's a bit ambitious from my point of view here, but yeah, 2 minutes, not the most disastrous. Getting to the end of the stage. I think we have a chance for another interview. I'm being told in my ear with.
Hello, guys.
Both of them, Dark Viper and Gwats.
Stallers.
How's it going?
I'm absolutely
It's not-
cooking him, mate.
It's not going fucking good, boys. I'll tell you that. Oh, sorry. It's not. Sorry.
Whoa,
it's not
whoa,
going
whoa,
good.
whoa, whoa!
It's not
Our
going good.
apologies.
It's not flipping going
Sorry,
good, guys.
sorry. No, I'm sorry. No, it's not going good. I got a puncture on the last stage, so I think I got like.
Oh, have you put your spare tire back in?
I'll be doing
Yeah.
that right now, mate. Don't
Yeah,
you worry
yeah,
about
yeah.
that. I'm
Fair,
figuring it out now. I don't know how to do that, but
Like tires, I think you put the spare back in if you need to.
Yeah, at the bottom there. You've got one in there. It's fine.
okay. So
Um,
does it replace it automatically?
Change your set of tires, by the way. You need to click on the tires to make sure to get a new set. There you go. Broadcast giving advice here. No worries.
Thanks.
Dark
Right.
Viper, I don't. Did you select your tires as well? I'm not sure. But anyway,
Yeah,
Thank you so
how's
much,
the
John,
grip?
mate.
How's the grip so far out
the
there?
grip-
It's looking
the-
treacherous.
The
It's-
grip is horrible. It's really fun, actually. Not gonna lie. Sorry, Viper. It's really fun. Like the actual driving is fun. It's
I
just
know,
like
just take a win.
it's just crazy. Yeah, I think I'm done for already. We're already done. Honestly, not gonna lie. I honestly think because I think it's supposed to be not ice at the end, right? I think so. In the last few stages, I'm not sure. There, I might be all right. But yeah, it's not looking good right now, boys. I'll tell you that.
How do I tell him that there's ice on every single stage?
Okay, well,
Nah, it's mixed conditions. Like I've only crashed in the dry actually because I'm pushing too quick. I don't know how. By the way, I had just exhaust steering and bodywork, and I was stuck in a tree, like facing the ground. I don't know if you guys saw. Yeah, I was actually stuck in there, and I hit 150 miles an hour. I don't know how my car survived. I'm like the luckiest person on earth right now.
I got stuck in a tree as well, but I did not. My tire did not survive, sadly. Yes, yeah, that was not
If it-
ideal.
If
That
it's a
was not ideal.
consolation to any of you, everyone basically has had a problem in the opening 2 stages, be it
Okay,
a
that's
spin or a
good.
crash or even a DNF. So, you guys are doing okay. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
Nah,
thank
Gwatz is
you.
getting in my head. He's like, you can't feel anything on the ice. And now when I hit the ice in this stage, I'm like, oh, well, actually, now that you say that, the wheel is really light. You can't
No,
actually feel what's
my
happening.
base is. I don't know what's wrong with this. With the. I don't know if it's a Moser thing. My base is ice cold though right now, and people will know that tells you that you're not getting much feedback. So I don't know if there's my force feedback settings are wrong or anything. So I'm looking at
Galician
the excuses on
guy.
stage 3 already. So
Yeah, he's blaming the equipment already.
yeah,
Bring back out the Logitech, bro.
Yeah, I would honestly rather, bro, at this point, genuinely. But it's staring at me right now. But yeah, it's actually been fun, honestly. Like it's fun. It
I
is
actually
fun
love
to
this.
drive in the ice, but it's,
Do you when you're balancing the car through the turn and just like sliding it
Yeah.
through? God, that's the best thing.
yeah, when I'm not crashing, it is fun. But I have crashed many times already. So my mod has told me that I'm 3 to 4 minutes total time down. So a lot to make up in the next stages. So hopefully Viper does a
Yeah.
backflip off the road. No offense, mate.
Don't worry. Actually, now that you've told me this, I'm just gonna take it well easier than the rest of the things, so you can't catch up.
I've got the pressure of this guy looking at me in the background. You see, so
The
Nah,
psychological wars
Yeah.
have started, indeed.
Got-
Well,
yes, yeah.
we wish you all the best of luck in the stages. I'm sure it's near enough your start time to. Don't want
Thank
to
you,
cap.
John.
You're
I
finished,
need
bro.
that,
You're
mate.
finished. You're finished.
The psychological warfare
Shut
have
up, mate.
begun.
Shut up, mate.
Have a bit of that.
The stage, bro. Shh. Right, get in the. All right, come on.
The most unchaotic question time there for our drivers. The same happened last week. They were absolutely brilliant, both driving and in the commentary booth for the questions, and we will get to see an onboard side by side. We've had multiple mistakes here from Punju and GPH in the background as we did the interviews, but nothing serious, just a few off-track incidents. Very, very difficult, as you can see, with the snow falling now and night conditions. You can basically see nothing. All Dark Viper nearly driving off the road, doing the sensible thing though when reversing back onto the track.
Yeah, it's definitely the most treacherous conditions, probably the most treacherous conditions we're going to see this entire rally, because again you can see your own reflection in the road. You can see the snow coming down. There's not much else you can see other than that. unless of course you're Dark Viper and you've pretty much nailed those HUD settings, because that is a beautiful sight that he's got in the bottom right corner, or the right of your screens there. But for Gwatz especially, there's not much really that you can actually see ahead of you, especially if you've got a straight, and that essentially just builds up blind corners if the co-driver doesn't give you enough information.
Yes, indeed. It's very, very treacherous conditions. You've just got to trust in the co-driver to give you the correct calls at the correct time. But it's all about adapting, and we're about to get into that very, very tricky turn. He's very, very flat out. You could see on his face then. He knew that was on the limit. Counter steer. I must say, that was driven like a true champion there. So that is brilliant. And Dark Viper on the same corner there. A little bit more cautious. I think Dark Viper might have driven this stage before, and so knows about the danger of that corner a bit more. But so far, both of them tackling the icy section, which is about to end quite well, it must be said.
Yeah, it's not gone too badly for them. It's not gone as badly as I think they were expecting it to. And they're pretty evenly matched, I would say, considering the expectations we have, considering the lack of experience Gwatz has in comparison to Dark Viper. So,
Off the road.
Never mind.
That was lucky. Just a reset penalty. I thought that was going to be a DNF on our screen right there. Producer switched to it full screen in anticipation, but just a reset penalty. I think he'll be counting as lucky stars for that one for quite a while. But yeah, as we can see, just the changing of grip, actually having more grip, just pushing them to drive faster and maybe just, well, evaluating the grip to be a bit more than there actually is, especially on the brakes, it looked like.
I think Gwatz is actually he's being very ambitious with what he's doing, which we love to see, and especially around, considering that he's less experienced around here, despite the fact that Dark Viper knows a lot more. It's definitely much more fun to watch Gwatz. Just absolutely send it, especially where you've mentioned a couple of times now that he sent it through, which is the blind corner around where he just pretty much went flat out, just sent it, and somehow that ended up working out.
Somehow, indeed, is the way to say that. As we see, just flat out, he is pushing it here. He is driving as if he knows the stage like the back of his hand, and I am quite sure that that is not true. Or a signpost with his name on it, and indeed, he has fallen foul of the signpost on the outside of that corner, and struggling to select first gear there for a bit. Going to have to do a 3-point turn here. Good practice for if you need to pass a driving test, but here we go, up the bank. Hopefully he's not stuck on the bank. He nearly got stuck on the bank with the rear of the car lifting up there. But it's looking like Dark Viper has got the measure of him in this stage for the moment. But that's the beauty of Monte-Carlo. Gwatz right into the tree there as well. Just honestly, he was doing better on the icy condition, which is interesting, and in fact he's crashed so hard into the tree, lost his the coverage for a bit there, which happens in real life as well, unfortunately. We've seen it multiple times, but yeah, just adding to the realism.
Yeah, the camera's flown off into the tree, it's stopped working, and we've got our replacement, our backup on the driver's helmet to continue watching as he feels. I still don't understand how he's driving in these conditions. It's completely blind beyond a few meters in front of him, and Dark Viper looks like he's struggling a little bit more than Gwatz, even though he can see a lot more. Never mind, I've done it again. That's 2 and 2 in this stage.
I'm so glad
really trying to prove me wrong.
I'm so glad we found somebody that's worse at jinxing people than me, which is great from my perspective, but he's sending it, and I don't think, honestly, there's enough visibility to be sending it this fast. He's just overdriving the car a little bit. But there is quite a few assistances there to help you out. Obviously, you've got the normal road signs that have the arrows on them in France in general. When there's a tight turn like that, you've got the 3 arrows there indicating this is a tight corner, you want to brake and start turning now effectively. But you also have the co-driver, which has normally accurate but can be vague in these types of conditions. You want more detailed pace notes, really, of the corner, which way it's going, and of the approximate angle of the corner 1 to 6. 1 being a tight corner, or hairpin it will be called most of the time, and 6 being a flat-out corner. So there is the possibility of having a vague gist of what's in front of you, but obviously nothing beats being able to see the stage for yourself, and we've seen Dark Viper across the line there with a confident and competent drive, and Guats has now got some more distance to catch up in their rivalry, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it may be a bit more of a friendly rivalry than we could make out to be. It would be entertaining if we had a ferocious one, but I don't think that would be. Well, that's about 20 seconds, isn't it? So it's not too terrible. But yeah, that double puncher in the first couple of stages is really, when it comes down to the combined total, will really screw him over in terms of the 2x2. But he can still get in Dark Viper's mind, so you never know.
Indeed. And in terms of other results of this stage, Bedrock Zoo and GJ, again, basically nothing splitting them, as I think GJ and Jam are now into stage 4, but they were 8th and 9th on that stage currently, with less than a 10th between them. And Ancephalosis P18 on stage 3. So our drivers here on this broadcast are going absolutely flat out. JPH 21st, Punju 22nd, only 27 seconds off on that stage, which for context on Monte-Carlo is very, very good. Dark Viper 35th. So you can see the drivers are slowly gaining confidence and gaining speed as we go further on into this broadcast. They're getting comfortable with their setup, the cars, the tires, everything, as we've got more visibility in stage 4 as well.
350.
And I think we've got a tiny issue with the microphone there, so I'll carry on for the moment. As we see Bedrock Zoo, you can see the consistency. He's avoided the tree this time, which is good. And he's mastering that Talbot Sunbeam. He is really driving the socks off of it. And you can see the confidence. You can see the intensity of the driving versus Punju, who's always laid back. It's very interesting to see the contrast of driving styles and the way they act during the stages. A lot of drivers will prefer to be concentrated 100%, whereas some drivers prefer to just take it cautiously, be a bit more chill during the stage, and that helps them get the best stage time without the pressure. So really, really interesting to see as they go on to the ice section now, which will be starting in a minute.
And the ice section is where the grippy tires, the word's escaping me now. Why is the word escaping me? The tires that are more suited to the icy conditions.
Studded tires.
The studded tires. There we go. That's the word. The studded tires are really going to come into effect, and yeah, especially when you can see yourself in that road. That's where I say that it's definite that you definitely need those studded tires on. You definitely need maybe to take it a little bit lighter, although the way these drivers have been driving tonight, the fact that it's getting a little bit later on in the stages, I don't think they're going to ease up anytime soon.
Indeed, no. This is one of the rallies where you have to keep that speed high and the pace quite high, because confidence is everything on these icy stages. If you start to back off and second guess what you're doing throughout the corners, you'll end up making more mistakes than usual. I think that's what's happening to some of our drivers tonight, is that they've made one mistake and now they're triple guessing what they're doing. As I've just failed to mention, also Jam has restarted now after the first service area there, so he is back on in terms of stage times and wanting to set good times, which is looking good so far. But yeah, definitely in terms of the pace here, you want to be, again, drifting that car, and you can only do that if you're confident, and at least hopefully everybody's got the studded tires on, because otherwise they're going to have a very bad time in the next few stages, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think Bedrock there did have the studded tires on, because there was just that little ounce of grip. You were saying you want to drive at about 90. That's pretty much what Bedrock was doing, because I believe it was Mario Andretti who said, if you're comfortable, you're not going quick enough. And Bedrock really there pushing the edge, pushing the limit of that car, that can oversteer and understeer at the same time, as you mentioned earlier. And at the end of it, he's come out in P13, which isn't too terrible of a time at all. It's actually very, very good. It could be one of the quickest, if not the quickest, of the Talbot Sunbeam Lotuses. We're looking to maybe get him in for an interview now.
And there he is in the interview box here. Bedrock, how is it going so far? We are seeing some blistering times from you. The confidence very high?
You know what? The confidence has been I wouldn't use the word shattered after my last attempt, but it's down there. And I decided to just not push as hard. And you know what? It's much better, actually, when the car is not in pieces, when different parts of your car aren't doing different stage times. It's better. It's better. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Who would have thought that 4 wheels on the car is actually faster?
I know.
But in terms of your choice of car, the Sunbeam Lotus is out there in terms of car choices. What made you pick that car then?
It's a rear-wheel drive hatchback. It looks like a wedge. It's I think that's it. My criteria are very different from other people, I guess. It's a Talbot as well.
I must say that's probably one of the best justifications for picking a car that I've ever heard. To be honest,
Should be the only one, I think. Yeah.
Straight to the point. Yeah, and I can definitely agree. It's one of the entertaining cars. These rear-wheel drive cars, beautiful to drive on tarmac, but the ice a little bit tricky for them, isn't it?
Definitely. You do try and get into a higher gear to use as much torque as they can provide, I guess. But it's a lot of fun. You do need to be very reserved with them, though, especially in the icy stuff.
For sure. Joseph, I've been hogging the questions a little bit. You got one?
That's all right. You're much more knowledgeable, so.
Do you know what? I don't, but my biggest challenge now is to keep the car not scratched, which is I managed to do it so far. So we'll keep going. I
think keeping it not scratched will get you above everybody else that we've seen, especially so far.
Well, it's looking like there is a lot of the events left to go. So hopefully you can keep this pace up. Do you think you can keep it consistent?
I really do hope so. I really do. So far, it seems good. We'll just keep banging out those pretty decent stage times. Yeah, fight's pretty close as well. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces in the standings, so that's cool.
Indeed, they are very, very close. A couple of seconds splitting at least 4 of our drivers in the past 2 stages. So looks like need to get your skates on and indeed onto the next stages with the service area and repair. Hopefully no damage on your car. But anyway, best of luck from us and hope to see you at the end on top of the standings.
Thank you so much, Dad. Ooh, okay. I'll see you there.
And we have our second interview of the service area here, not with Jam, but RC JPH. How is it going so far? The other person in the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus, how has it been treating you so far?
Good evening. Yeah, it's been going well. It's been going really well. The setup feels quite. I mean, it's a good base car to start with, actually, on the ice. But the setup's working really nicely, and I've got a nice bit of confidence. I mean, other than taking it steady on that 3rd stage where it was foggy, I've got 9th on stage 4 in this thing. I'm quite pleased with.
I think it's quite interesting because we've seen 2 drivers tonight take the Talbot. What was your reasoning behind that? Is it simply the fact that it seems to be better on the ice?
Part of it is I quite like driving it in this game. It's it's something different, but ultimately it does have less power than the Escort. So in theory, it should be a little bit nicer on the ice. Not that it might not look it when I'm driving, but yeah, it should in theory with less power. It should grip up a little bit nicer on the ice, and it just means a little bit more traction.
Well, I mean, a lot of drivers tonight have been demonstrating that traction could be an issue. But is it, for you now, is it just looking at longevity, just looking at slow and steady wins the race, or is it more that you're easing yourself into it and then maybe you're pushing a little bit harder in those icy sections where the other drivers aren't going to be keeping up?
it's kind of a case of just 90% all the way through, really. Just get 85, 90%. Just give yourself a little bit in reserve just in case things start to go wrong. Generally, you've got to kind of be on it right from the get-go. If you're not, then you lose time quite early. So yeah, just a case of just keep doing what I'm doing and make sure that when there's dodgy stuff coming up, just don't take the mickey with it, basically.
So a race of attrition then, where you're just trying to stay out of the trees, which has been working very well for a couple of drivers tonight, not so well for some others.
Now he's jinxed it.
Yes, there we go. I've jinxed squats twice tonight, so no promises.
That's a pretty good record then so far.
Yeah, it definitely has been quite a considerable sort of attrition rate for our drivers at the moment in terms of crashes, but you seem to have been doing a great job out there so far and keeping it consistent. So hopefully it remains the same for you. And do you feel that confidence sort of increasing or decreasing at the moment?
It's definitely increasing. I mean, I had quite high confidence coming into it with this thing, so it's just have a little bit more is quite nice. But I'm definitely getting more comfortable with it, almost exactly how to get it sorted on the ice, just getting it four-wheel drifting. So
yeah, well, indeed, that's the way you got to do it with rally cars in general. Well, all the best of luck to you in getting that car four-wheel drifting across the line, hopefully with no problems.
brilliant. Thank you, guys.
What a lovely lad to chat to. His first time on the broadcast tonight, and he is doing himself proud, it must be said, as we've got GJ waiting on the start line as well. Got, I think, Bedrock Zoo into the stage, and GJ about to start now, so quite a few of our drivers eager to get going into these stages. Indeed, we got IRC JPH as well starting the stage. This one, finally, they are back to good visibility conditions and everything will be perfect. Definitely no problems in this stage, right?
Well, I mean, you might be reaching for my levels tonight. You've done well. I don't remember you jinxing anybody tonight. That could be all set to change now in this stage.
Well, you need to try at least to get the quota of jinxes for the stage, but most definitely in some sort of weird, let's call it reverse psychological event, maybe is the best way to describe it. The drivers can be encouraged to push more in these stages, and that can become really, really tricky with the braking. The studded tires are very, very good in terms of grip on tarmac still. There's only a slight difference in terms of the grip levels. However, they have one bit where they are noticeably worse than the slick tires, and that is on the brakes. As we can see, IRC JPH nearly messing up that hairpin imperfects demonstration, but the braking distances are longer, so the stopping zone's longer, and that means that you have to be a bit more cautious on the brakes, and some of our drivers, I think, might get caught out by the fact that they think they have a lot more grip than they actually have. But for the moment, they are doing a very, very good job, and it looks like they are getting into the groove of it now. Those first two stages really took their toll on the drivers, but they're motoring on with it.
Yeah, because that was probably the most difficult way we could have started it, but now we can sort of get everything can probably settle down now. All the drivers can pretty much settle down, because you can see they are on the tarmac. There isn't as much ice, or there isn't any ice at the current moment that they're at, whereas at the start there was a lot of ice, especially in stages 2 and 3. But now, yeah, we've got a little bit more. The sun is coming out, especially on GJ's screen, as you can see there. So it's definitely going to be a much more relaxed run for the drivers, but they don't want to be too relaxed. They don't want to take a step back, because they can either go a little bit slower if they do that, just nice and casually, or they could allow mistakes to creep in.
Well, this is one of the stages where they do start off in dry conditions. However, as they work their way up the hill, they will be getting onto that icy section, as I think we've got Bedrock Zoo and Ancephallosis just in that section now. And Bedrock Zoo, just getting all the brakes off of our cameras there. But it's got those treacherous corners where you have to be on the brakes on the ice. And so it's another one of those times where you have to start the stage very aggressively and then dial back your driving style, almost like into a tire preservation mode on a Formula 1 game, for example, just to make sure that you don't get caught out by the fading grip levels as you work your way up the mountain. The game has a three-tier grip system, let's call it. You have the completely dry stage, which is what our two drivers currently on the screen are dealing with at the moment. And then you will see in a few corners' time, it will go to patchy conditions. You'll start seeing some clumps of snow as GJ just comes across that zone. Right now, you can see the snow starting to form on the stage. Tiny bit of grip loss, maybe 10%, 20% grip loss, nothing too noticeable. And then, all of a sudden, after this hairpin, right in a minute, the grip level will be fine now. And wait for it, there will be a section where you can spot the ice on the track. There, see it on this corner, ice. Onto ice, and then the grip level disappears completely. So you do get a bit of warning that ice is coming up, and the co-driver will tell you, but you've still got to adjust in that split seconds like I was talking about at the start of the broadcast.
And yeah, I think now the fact that this one's interchangeable is going to be very difficult for the drivers to navigate, because they had that little dry section where they were able to go flat out. They're going to have to rein it in a little bit more now. But yeah, I think this is certainly going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, Ancephallosis, P17 on that stage, 17 seconds down, and I think, which is a good time in context. And I think Bedrock Zoo just a tiny bit faster than that. I'm trying to check the times right now. Bedrock Zoo, 14th place. So, so close between our drivers once again, less than 2 seconds in it. And so they are going hammer and tongs at it in terms of the Creator Series standings. Just a reminder for everybody watching the broadcast, there is a separate point tally for people participating in the broadcast, and they get separate points to the overall standings. So they will be competing against each other for these times, including on the power stage later on the last stage, stage 9. So they will be jesting in the Discord voice chat, I'm sure, as I think Jam just got a penalty running over that track marker board. So the poles, the red poles with the concrete block at the base of them are track markers. If you go over them with generally more than 2 wheels, you'll get a corner cutting penalty, a 5-second penalty. Although sometimes taking the 5-second corner cut penalty on these tracks is safer than avoiding them and going all the way off the road.
And I think, I think that Jam found that out earlier on, as that's it. Jam's very. This is where a racing line would come in useful, as Jam just getting himself a little bit tangled up. This is where a racing line would come in handy, because he's not finding the track. Although I believe that might actually not be because he's got no racing line, and just because he's got absolutely no grip. From the way that he's driving, it just looks like he's got those. It doesn't look like he's got the studs on.
I think he has the studs on. I think, well, he'd be silly not to, I think. The only thing I can think of is the fact that it's a rear-engined car. So while he's going uphill, he's getting the extra rotation of the weight. But when he goes downhill and he starts braking, all of that weight tries to transition to the front, but the engine on the rear makes the rear brakes lock, and so you start sliding, and then you get a huge amount of oversteer. And the reason why I mentioned that it might not be good to be on the slick compound tires is the fact that this stage 6, which we're about to start with Punju, is completely on ice. As you can see, you've got the Poma the Poma ski lift in front of you, which it used to be a ski resort. I'm not sure if it's still open. It probably is, but indication that there's frequently snow here. And would you be surprised? There's snow on the ground.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's a That's a natural place to have a ski resort, isn't it? Wow, this is very slippy. You can pretty much see the road reflecting right back at you. This is the worst of the grip that we've seen. And Punju traversing here, he's going to have to be a little bit careful with where he puts his car. He's got a wall on one side and he's got a massive cliff on the other that he could find himself, if he's not careful enough, sliding completely off. So very, very treacherous.
Yeah, for sure, very treacherous. And just for a little bit more info, this the reason why this is an icy section is it's actually on the north side or the shady side of the hill. Of the Col de Torini stage hill, or road section as you could call it. And so while the other half of the section is normally quite clear on a rally in real life, this section is often all iced up throughout the entire day, as it doesn't really get the sun for more than 2 or 3 hours. So they've represented it this way in the game, and it's oh so terrifying, especially downhill, as toward the end of the stage it gets much, much faster. We're talking 4th, 5th gear corners, and you've got to judge the grip perfectly. For context also, some of you who played Dirt Rally 2 might remember that the stage start there, instead of turning right on Dirt Rally 2, you turned left and went down the hill that way into an icy section as well. So both ways, treacherous grip levels. But this section of stage is not featured in the WRC for at least 3 or 4 years, if not more. The section which you start at is actually the finish of the overall event for the past 2 or 3 years, as the first corner is actually where the finish boards are in real life. So they get to drive this section, but as a road section, once they've finished the rally and once the winner has already been decided. Here, it's far from the case. This might be where the winner is decided.
I think so. I think, well, it is very difficult for the drivers to keep in a straight line. We could see everybody throw themselves off with the way that some of the grip has been looking. It's been looking, I know that it's a rear-wheel drive. I know that we're supposed to be sending them into the corners, but some of them have been looking a little bit more out of control than they have been through the first few sections, or through the first few stages. So intentional or not, we'll have to wait and see to see if they pay off, and to see if they can make their way through such a difficult segment. I know this is the reason that I haven't attempted the Rally Monte-Carlo, especially this stage.
Yeah, it's a daunting one, and you really have to be very cautious of the grip levels. I think the next stage is the Pradellart section, which is the section before this stage, and then with this stage added on to the end of it to make 18 kilometers. So they'll have to drive this twice, this section. But as you can see here with Punju's onboard, this is now the aggressive section. He's in 5th gear. He's probably flat out at this point, just maybe lifting off the throttle there a little bit, using the wall to turn. That is a bold strategy, but indeed working out for him for the moment. Sometimes you just have to give a little bit of a wall tap to keep the car in check. You can see how much he's fighting the car on his camera there, and indeed using the inside corners, sort of the grass on the inside, to maybe get the studs in a little bit more than the tarmac and get a little bit of grip. Grip can be found, paradoxically, on the grass, actually, and you'll see some drivers intentionally using the grass to get a bit of extra traction out of the corner. But into the last section of stage, arguably the most treacherous and most flat-out section. Let's have a watch.
Yeah, this is going to be probably the quickest that they're going to get up to around the rally. Obviously, the first one was very quick, as Punju there just holding onto the car as much as he possibly can.
Fast. And off, just avoiding the tree. Sorry to interrupt you there. I've noted for that corner in my notes that you need to be in 4th gear or lower. He went into that in 5th gear, and I knew immediately as he started braking for that it was too quick. As Bedrock's gone off in the exact same place, he's managed to keep it as well. Lucky.
It looks like you can take it a lot more aggressively than you actually can, and that's what both of these drivers have discovered. I'm sure they're not going to be the last ones to discover that either, because it just looks like a little kink, but when the rears just get away from you in one of these cars, that could be the end of your run. And those two doing very well to keep hold of their cars.
Indeed, indeed. The only reason why I remember that one is because I had it in my notes pre-event. I think we have time for an interview with Encephalosis here, if we can drag him in. Here he is, with the surprised look on his face. How's it been going for you so far? Has the car been treating you nice? Has the stage treated you okay in that Mark II Escort?
I think so, absolutely. A bit of a surprise, I guess, for a few reasons. The yoink into the chat is always a little surprising, but I'm surprised that we're kind of cooking today. Man, it's feeling really good, the Escort. We were talking a little bit in the chat there, me, Punju, Bedrock, we had all taken different cars, but we all really liked what we're feeling. I think there's just something nice about this car class. It's kind of like right in the slot where a lot of people can appreciate exactly that much power to the rear wheels and not too much more. I'm loving it, man. I cannot believe the position that we're holding. I'm just having an absolute blast driving. This is so fun, and I'm really impressed. Everybody seems to be doing really well too.
Yeah, indeed. No, carry on, Joseph.
That's fine. Everyone does seem to be having a lot of fun. Everyone seems to be really enjoying the rear-wheel drive and the fact that you can pretty much send it through the corners. I just wondered, because you're the only driver on the grid, as far as I can see, that's taken that Ford Escort. You said you're enjoying it. Was there a comparison with other cars? Did you utilize others in practice, or was this always the one that you were going to pick?
I guess it could be said that this was always the one I was going to pick. I was looking to try out the Alpine, mostly because so many people had talked about it, and I haven't driven it yet. I also haven't driven the Porsche in this game. So I am definitely looking forward to driving those two cars just because they're rear-wheel drive. But the Ford Escort for me is a comfort pick. It's maybe childish, but there's two things going on here. Off the bat, it has the most horsepower in the class, and it has Andrew literally written all over it. And my name is Andrew. So how do you not pick Andrew's heat for hire? That is just the most beautiful thing that they could have written on this car for me. And honestly, you know, it's the most power, but it comes with the most weight. And I think that was a little bit of a conscious choice here on the ice. There's going to be times where I'm sending it into hairpins. I think on the downhill, you know, that weight in the ice is going to be a little detrimental. But when we're flat, I'm hoping that weight will actually give me, you know, a little bit more traction, actually. It's almost like I've got a few sandbags keeping me weighted down. So I'm digging the Escort.
It seems to be working well for you because apart from obviously Vlembar, who's way off in the distance in terms of the Creator Series standings once again, but in terms of people that we've got on the broadcast today, you are sitting very, very close to the top with IRC JPH currently leading 1 minute 49 off the lead overall. Bedrock Zoo just ahead of you by 6 seconds. You are currently sitting 2 minute 10 off the pace, but obviously that's to the overall leader, only sitting, well, less than 30 seconds off the lead or off of GJ in any case. So do you think you can push and get those seconds back, or are you going to keep it sort of consistent as you have?
Oh man, I think I am pushing as far as I can responsibly. I'm definitely trying to keep that R word, you know, very loud in my head responsibly right now. This is way faster than I practiced, is the thing. Not way faster. This is kind of like if I took every best element of all of my practice runs. So I'm not, to answer your question, I'm not trying to push any faster than this. If we can hold this pace, I will be over the moon. I was aiming for top 50 today. And I think right now we're in like P15. It sounds like you're saying IRC and GJ are running really high. I think they're just a few minutes behind me, so I haven't been seeing them.
They are.
I'm over the moon with where I'm at.
Yeah, they are just ahead of you in the standings. Put it that way. With Bedrock Zoo literally in terms of overall standing 6 seconds ahead of you. So it's very, very close. But it, as you said, if you're pushing 100%, that's more. You know, you can't do any more.
Yeah, I think last week you told me to keep it to 95, so I'm really pushing it here.
This time, go 105. Do it.
Oh goodness. Okay. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, everybody is doing so well. Now that you're saying that about IRC and GJ, it seems like almost everyone's in the top 100. I know Jam had a tragic start. Talk to him for a second, but for the most part, everybody's like so well today in this terrifying rally.
And seeing as you've jinxed it, that'll be the end of that. So good luck on the next stages. I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
Yep. Thank you, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Hope you get some good results. Yeah, well, he jinxed himself, to be fair, on that one, so I take no responsibility. I think we've got a chance to talk to GJ as well. Mr. GJ in the commentary booth for us as he watches his replay. How has it been in Monte-Carlo?
Fun, very fun. Hello, guys. Good evening, everyone. Very slippery and very fun. Driving these rear wheel drive cars, it's amazing. You need to be so smooth in the throttle and in the brakes. But yeah, it was fun, but scary. Sometimes the car doesn't brake, doesn't turn, nothing. He chooses the path, it's okay, you lead the way. I will try to bring you again to the road, but yeah. Apart of that, it's very, very fun.
You are currently second overall in Creator Series standings on this rally. Do you think you can keep P2?
I really don't know, because the first stages, I feel more confident. I know the stage well. The next ones, I'm not so confident, and there is a lot of ice, and somewhere I will spin. I will do a donut maybe, and yeah, maybe I will lose the place. Let's see.
Joseph, over to you.
Well, I don't think we've actually been focusing much on GJ on the broadcast, but he's just been silently being a silent warrior, as it is, all the way up there. Do you think you'll be able to keep this pace going, as we've got a few different stages to go?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to be the smooth as I can, because yeah, these cars. If you press the throttle, if you smash the throttle, you will spin. If you brake if you brake late, you will don't get the turn. So I will try to be smooth. I will try to brake early. I will try to be gentle with the car. But in a rally like this, it's a matter of milliseconds and all gone. You miss one break, you miss one turn, and you fall off, and terminal damage, or you get your car very damaged, or you got a puncture. Anything could happen in the rally with these conditions. But yeah, I will try to keep in that way.
It sounds like a plan, but as we know in Rally Monte-Carlo, anything can happen. So wish you all the best, and yeah, it's a solid performance. I think you can be proud of it, regardless of what happens.
Thank you, my mates. Thank you.
Now we've got some really upbeat drivers today, and I was expecting them to say, you know what, struggling so much, wiping the sweat off my forehead. Most of our interviews have been, wow, this is so fun.
I think they're enjoying the struggle. I think that they're just embracing the fact that it's incredibly difficult, and they're all in the same boat. So I think they're just looking at it as a lot of good fun.
The rally virus has definitely contaminated them. Indeed, yes. You have to be a special type of person to enjoy the icy conditions. But in all honesty, it is a lot of fun. You're able to slide the car and not lose too much time, whereas in other locations, you have to be a bit more smooth. So it's a chance to have a bit of fun, have a bit of a gamble maybe in certain corners. And indeed, it's one where often the tarmac drivers will be very good at it, but it's one where the gravel drivers can definitely use their advantage of being able to slide the cars a lot and control that slide to sort of even out the scores on this one. And as you can see on this stage, you start all the way in the bottom of the valley and work your way up into the hills. This is effectively the power stage, real-life power stage of Rally Monte-Carlo. It's stage 7 for us, so a couple of stages off of the power stage, but indeed very, very tricky to, well, just keep the consistency and keep the pace flowing.
Yeah, it's keeping the consistency and keeping the pace flowing is going to be the key, despite the fact that we've got such different weather conditions. In that last stage, we saw the weather conditions change pretty much halfway through as we went from pretty much completely dry right at the start of it to at the end. You could see your own reflection in it. At the moment, we've got GJ here traversing the dry, but you never know. As he heads up the hill, it could get more icy, it could get more slippery, and it's just a matter of waiting for the drivers to. It's a matter of waiting for the conditions to get a little bit slippery. It's at the moment they're sort of trying to slide their way through here to gain as much time as possible. Later on, that won't be a choice, and they will be forcing it to. Well, they'll pretty much be counter steering through that ice.
Indeed, they will. Yes, it's one of those things that you just have to contend with as the changing grip. As yes, this stage will have those icy conditions all the way to I'd say past the halfway or to 1/3 mark. Basically, I think will be icy conditions onward. So effectively, you'll have the first 2, maybe 2.5 sectors where there will be no ice on the road, and then from there on out it will be all the way up in the mountains. You can even see the snow line there being marked out on the mountains in front of you, so to give an idea of how much they're going to have to climb before they reach that snow. But let me guarantee you that the climbs in these cars are very, very fast, and they will get there at an impressive rate of knots. As we've got Jam climbing up the hill. Worth to mention that the Alpine is about 200, if not 250 kilograms lighter than most of the other cars in its class. So it's very, very good uphill with slightly reduced horsepower. It's an older car being built in the 60s rather than in the 70s, like most of the other cars in the class. So it will benefit in 2 types of conditions, going uphill and, well, indeed downhill as well, because it will save on the brakes. But especially in icy conditions where it will be able to float a bit more over the surface and not lose the grip because of the weight being thrown around.
I know that sorry, I know that a couple of the drivers who are using the Alpines were actually very excited about using those cars. They saw the potential that it had, and Jam just going around there. He's not exercising all of the potential that they have in that car. However, the fact that it is easier up and easier down is much better for what we have here, which is essentially a hill climb.
Yeah, indeed, it is. This stage is quite literally a hill climb, as you describe it. And it's certainly Jam demonstrating that it has a lot of turn-in potential. The problem is keeping the potential on a leash. And these cars, not known for being very friendly to the drivers, all of that power going through the rear tires. Four-wheel drive was only brought into the WRC by Audi in 1982, if I remember correctly, with their Group N car, and or was it Group 4 car? I've got to remember the details of that one. Anyway, they brought a four-wheel drive car, but before that, everybody was driving rear-wheel drive cars. There was not much of a choice, and so you had a lot of cars actually competing at the same time. The Group 4 regulations, some even say that it was the pinnacle of rally, because you could go and buy one in the showroom, do a bit of engine modifications, tuning to it, put a roll cage in it, and go and rally in the WRC if you had a tiny bit of budget. So these cars are very, very popular, even nowadays, in historic rally classes, which in Great Britain, for example, are actually bigger than the modern rally championships. So they have a lot of festivals around them as well, like the Eiffel Rally Festival, Rally Legend, and so very, very popular nowadays, I think, just for the extravagant, exuberant style that you have to show in driving them.
Yeah, and I think I'm a big fan of these cars. They are beautiful. It was probably the peak era of when cars were being designed, because they've just got such an elegant look to them. And the cars we can see at the moment, the Alpine and the Opel, they're both very good looking cars. They're both very good performing cars as well in their eras, with the Alpine actually winning the Monte-Carlo Rally, I believe, if I check my notes, 3 times.
Yes, and indeed winning the Rally Championship at one point, if I remember correctly. I do not have the year for that, I will be honest with you. Maybe I should have the year for that. Somehow not appearing in my notes, would you believe? But I think actually it was the winner of the opening year in 1973, although I may get that wrong. That's just by memory. But the Alpine was kind of a problematic car in that it had already reached the end of its development cycle. It was an outdated design in terms of the chassis by the time the 1970s rolled around, and many of these other cars managed to sort of get a dominance. The Alpine was used quite a bit afterwards, but not with much success after 1973, if I remember correctly. We've had a few drivers have a few spins here. Ancephallosis going for a brief spin, but you can see most of our drivers now onto the icy section after that third split marker, or just before it. So they're going to have to be tiptoeing all the way up the hill, and there's now one word about this, and it's momentum. And it's key to keep the momentum. And then just as I say that, Jam goes into the barrier. Can you believe it? Just clipping the rocks. A very slow incident there. Hopefully no damage, but yeah, not one to ease the confidence into this stage.
There was a thud there, definitely. And as you were saying, momentum, Jams has completely been broken. That's not only going to slow him down, but it's also going to get in his mind. He's going to be thinking about that on his way up. That looks like there may be a slight bit of damage as the bonnet waves around a little bit in the wind. But yeah, that's really going to play on his mind as they get up. It's going to be even more icy as they get further up. You can see Ancephallosis and Punju. It's pretty much completely icy as they've reached the top of the hill. So it is extremely snowy conditions. So Jam's got that ahead of him. Ancephallosis and Punju are in it right now, and it's just they're back to wrestling with the car. They're back to counter steering. That's an impressive counter steer there from Ancephallosis.
Yes, indeed. They have to master those techniques. As you were saying earlier on the broadcast, you don't really see this with Formula driving, because the whole goal of that is to not get any wheel spin really at all, and to get them optimal traction out of the corner, keep everything under control. Use the aerodynamics. Now, that's the one big difference that we have compared to the Formula cars or any type of circuit racing, really. These cars don't really have aerodynamics. It wasn't really a thing back in the days. In Formula 1, it had just started with the wings on the cars in the late 60s, but it was rudimentary. It was more experimentation than knowing actually what they were doing. And there was no written formulas on what exactly you had to do to make the car go faster aerodynamically. So all of these cars are mechanical grip, which means that you can gleefully chuck them sideways and they will be very, very happy, obliging your driving style with that. And that is indeed the main difference, is that these cars are very happy sitting at a 45-degree angle with the throttle wide open.
Yeah, it was very much a time of experimentation, but they seem to get it a little bit more nailed in these cars, where they're able to pinpoint the perfect grip, and a couple of these drivers are starting to nail that point, because it does take a little bit of getting used to them, a little bit of precision with the cars. But some of these drivers, Ancephallosis proving me wrong, as I was about to mention him as being very precise and able to get used to that slide of the rear, hitting the wall slightly. But he is a good example of somebody who's able to just use that slide to perfection, just to gain him a little bit of time. And you can see there as well, just using that grass once again, they all seem to be using the grass for a lot of grip.
Yes, as I was saying, the oddity of the icy sections is because the tire, as Ancephalosis goes for a little spin there, maybe just changing down to first gear and just getting the rear axle locked up effectively without using the handbrake. It's very easy to do, as it looks like he's just got no grip. Maybe he forgot even to change tires, perhaps. It's looking very slippery for him compared to the other drivers. It's a very unique driving style here because the tires are not ice tires. They are studded tires, but they have only got, I'd say, a light amount of studs compared to a tire that we see in Sweden on the snow, where there's quite literally like 300 or 400 studs. These have about 200 studs, but they're essentially a slick tire with a few studs in them, which means that the grip levels are still very, very low. And that does mean that when you go over a patch of grass, although it might be frozen grass, the studs will dig in more than on the ice, so you can actually get a lot of grip out of it. And it's a strategy that we've seen in real life as well, as Ancephalosis goes and hits the wall again. Whoa, that was lucky. Very, very lucky, as we're now into the very fast section of this stage. We're going to have to pay close attention to all of the cameras here to make sure nobody goes off. Punju taking it much more cautiously through that last turn there where everybody went off last time. And indeed, it's so tricky because it increases the tire wear going on the grass because the studs get worn down. They are tungsten tipped studs, but they don't last forever, especially if you're driving them on tarmac where they just wear away. And so that's where a smooth driving style can actually get you more grip because your tires don't wear. So they still have to drive kind of smooth. As 25th place for Punju, that's a very good stage time within a minute of the leader.
They definitely, especially around this circuit where there is not much margin for error. There's a wall on one side and a fence on the other. And if there's no fence, there's a cliff. So they do have to be smooth. Just on that sense, not even talking about the grip of the tires themselves. It's a very important thing to get, that you need to balance the two together. And I think these drivers tonight have really put on a show of being able to balance them. They're right up the top of the timesheets like we haven't really seen before. They're all in and around, barring a couple, in and around the top 20, which is very, very impressive. And we've had the man on top as Dark Viper almost listens to me and slides down that hill. Doesn't quite, he's able to save it, but that was incredibly close. But we've had the man at the top who was slightly scared, at least, of Ancephalosis, who was coming after his time. Might be slightly less scared after that stage, but it shows that the broadcast drivers are really putting it towards those that aren't on broadcast, those who have set those impressive times so far that mean that our drivers are down in the 20s. But the potential for them is that they can climb back up. Punju, even though he struggled early on with the issues that he was facing in that first stage, he's come back very, very strongly, and that pace has definitely been leader pace. Dark Viper even letting go of the wheel momentarily there, just to allow the steering to correct itself. But this is an impressive sight to see them just flying down the hill, just about keeping control of the car.
Indeed, yeah. Then one little twitch of the wheel in the wrong place, one application of the throttle a little bit over intensive. Even just locking the brakes can spell disaster here as Dark Viper wrestling with the car there. Guat's at near enough the exact same stage here. We'll just see him go through that corner in just a second. Very, very tricky corners here overall. As you've got like the trifecta of difficulty here. You have the fact that you're going downhill, you have the fact that you are on ice, and you have the fact that quite a lot of the obstacles here on this stage are obscured by bushes and trees, and you can't really see them until the last second, so you've got to be oh so cautious as Dark Viper getting so close to one of those obstacles. That is one of the problems of this stage. You've got to get on the brakes at some point. What's out of control a little bit into here, but he's actually got it slowed down very, very well. As we've got Dark Viper going into the danger zone now. Will he remember that last sort of flat-out turn where he needs to start braking? You need to start braking about now. Oh, that's late on the brakes. Does he get it stopped? Looks like it. Yes, perfectly timed actually. Yeah, just after that small crest here. Let's look at Watts, see what he can do coming up to that same turn there. He's braking down to third gear. Yes, indeed, very, very good. Very cautious. One of the turns where you do need to be cautious, and he has got through that corner safely. Let's have a look. 15 minutes on the dot for Dark Viper. Let's have a look. 15 minutes and 19 seconds, call it, for Guat. So going in favor of Dark Viper there. But we've had some very, very fast stage times for the moment. Our drivers continue to impress.
Yeah, Dark Viper being in P12, and we've got Bedrock Zoo up in 9th place. So we've got some of these drivers on broadcast tonight are putting on an absolute spectacle. And yeah, it's great to see that even those who have a little bit less experience, like Guats, up right up there. I think as well, Bedrock Zoo making his debut on the broadcast. He's definitely putting up a good demonstration of his abilities. He's putting up a good show. We've got Ancephallosis, who's putting up a good show for the other stages for different reasons to the one that he's just done. A little bit slippery and slidey as he went through the last stage. Starting another one, though, he will be looking to come back. We've got Punju and Bedrock Zoo, just as I was talking about him, on the same run, the same stretch, and they're actually extremely close together. Just a couple of seconds separating the two. So this is going to be, if they can keep it this quite as close as they're doing, this is going to be quite close, because they have as well. Who was it? There was another driver that was pretty much in and around that section. I think it was Ancephallosis.
Yeah, indeed. There's just so many drivers capable of pushing the limits on this course, and it is one of the sections where you can get it wrong. We've seen drivers like Ancephallosis get it wrong through here, but the advantage that they have now actually is that they are going uphill. So it is a tiny bit easier to, well, let's call it avoid the lockups and all of that. The main danger here is actually just getting too confident, and on the next stage afterwards you go and bin it, because it's either downhill or the grip level is considerably different. So yeah, our drivers will have to just be adaptable as they have always been, which is easier said than done, as he said, if in your previous statement. And I will always say, in Monte-Carlo, it's always a big if.
It is, and I think the adaptability point is a very good point, as Bedrock Zoo does well to catch that. The adaptability point is a very good point, because they've had to traverse so many different conditions today, whether it's the snow, whether it's the dry, even going so far as to have the dry and the snow complete opposites in the same stage. Bedrock Zoo hitting the wall quite hard there, just about letting the rear step away from him, and that's put paid to him keeping up with Punju. But he's actually not lost too much time there, but he's going to be, again, I'll go back to it, that's going to get in his mind, and you don't want any sort of doubt in your mind as you're heading through such slippery conditions as they've got here.
Indeed, yeah, you don't want to be hesitating. I think, you know, it's always the case of you are pushing the limit, and at some point, you know, in the back of your mind, at some point, it will go wrong. It's just a question of when and how you can control it. So you will choose the corners generally where you want to push, as we can see the times ever so close. Punju just beating out Bedrock in terms of the stage time there. So yeah, again, the rivalry's close, and as we will be in the power stage on the next one, they will be wanting to get those extra points. A reminder that an extra 5 points are available for our drivers tonight if you want to go and win the power stage. And I will say that Vlembar has left the door wide open on the power stage by setting a slow time 20 seconds off of the overall pace. So there is room for one driver to slot into that gap and take some points away from him.
I believe Lembar is watching the broadcast. So he's seen himself be called out there, but he definitely has left the door open for any driver who can just nail it to pick up maximum points.
Yeah, indeed. It's always the case with the top drivers. It's so tricky to get them to make a mistake as a rival. You know, you always are looking for that little chink in the armor, and it never arrives. It never gets there. And that's what the best drivers are capable of doing. They are capable of driving toward the limit without taking any unnecessary risks. And one of the best talents as a driver is actually being able to make those calculations on the fly in a split second and have them be accurate most of the time. And that's what makes the difference, especially in a rally like this.
Yeah, those split-second decisions could be the difference between being in the barrier, being off the cliff, or just keeping it in a straight line, really. Because that's the main thing. Just making those split-second decisions, making them right. It could gain you a minimal bit of time, which is the main focus of these drivers. They're going to try and put the massive cliff out the back of their minds, although I'm sure with the fact that they can see it quite clearly, it won't be as far back as that. But yeah, they're just going to continue on, and they're going to continue on the edge as much as they possibly can. Gwatz and Dark Viper, there's a little bit of a split between them. Dark Viper a little bit ahead. Gwatz making that slight mistake earlier on. Hopefully we're going to be able to get them into talk to each other again, not talk to us as we had previously. We had, looking at Vlembar in the chat, just saying that his brother sent it. Don't know whether he means his actual brother or whether he just means that they're sending it and he was 20 seconds off, which indeed he was. John mentioned that earlier. But what's just finding those spots to push, those right spots of grass just to run over. And yeah, picking the right spot of grass is difficult, but if you can do it right, just as Gwatz has done there, then you're going to be absolutely flying. You can gain a couple of tenths at least. And even though he has finished behind Dark Viper in this stage, he's not too far off.
It's a good time. It's about 10 seconds off the pace of Dark Viper, who is going incredibly fast. Again, another top 20 time from Dark Viper. But we've seen that from all of, at least 4 of our drivers tonight. They've set a top 20 time. So for Gwatz, only a second's time on broadcast with a rally game after having not played a rally game at all before coming on this broadcast. It's impressive. It's incredibly impressive and just shows how certain drivers are able to adapt in any scenario. One thing I will also mention about the grip level is that on some stages you can get more grip on the snow as well than on the ice. And certain rally drivers, in real life even, will go for the lines where other drivers haven't gone. I think we're about to get both of them in for an interview here. And let the chaos begin. How's it going so far? The pace has been absolutely incredible, I must say. And yeah, just incredible driving from both of you.
And don't swear the time, please.
You don't have to lie, John, mate.
I feel like overall I've just got like a slight 3/10 advantage over him or something like that. It's just the feeling that I have.
Stop it, bro. Now this guy's actually putting one on my future bald head, bro. Genuinely, it's really bad, mate. It's really bad. I think I'm whipping out the secret weapon. I'm gonna put some softs on and for the final stage. Honestly, I have no choice, bro. At this point,
okay, don't do that.
No, don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing, bro. Trust me. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, he's about to pull out the Ferrari strategy.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna sort it out, bro. I'll tell you that. All right, I'm gonna sort something out.
How did that go for you, Gwatz, though? I didn't actually find out.
It was all right, bro. I was like 50th or 52nd, I think.
I'm pretty happy
with.
That's my usual pace. I don't know what's happened to me today. I just woke up
Yeah,
and
this is
decided to cook.
this is embarrassing, bro. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, this is embarrassing for me. But
No, but
you have
I've
to,
done
we must
like
press on.
I've done like a whole season or something. This is your second rally, so
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell myself, mate. I'm actually pretty happy with my pace, to be honest. Like I keep saying it, but it's like it's not too dissimilar from like drifting, you know, on the ice.
yeah.
So it's been pretty fun, to be honest. The last stage, I had 2 like really stupid spins. Like they were like
I had a half
was
spin.
like
It's nightmare, isn't it? It's so embarrassing.
it was like
and, like
it was like 1 or 2, you know.
this car's
like,
so hard to
it was
get
like
going
1 or
as
2,
well.
But it was
It's
just like yeah.
it builds
I
on
didn't
it.
I didn't have to restart it. I actually did a donut on one of them, but yeah, it's been
Alright.
challenging. It's been
The
challenging.
fans.
Points. So just a reminder for our drivers, we don't give out style points for doing donuts and all that. Although maybe that's a thing to consider.
Mate, I went. Yeah, that's
the case,
why
I
I
might
did
have
it,
to quit.
actually. Oh,
What's
yeah.
that about?
So he's gonna so Viper. We'll do something special across the line. I'll tell you that, guys. All right. This last
Yeah.
stage. If we can find the hill to go off of, we'll send it off. We will send it off of it. I'll tell you that.
Is this the final one?
I
This
think
is
so.
indeed the power stage. This is
Oh
indeed
yeah,
the power
okay.
stage we
I
can
kind of need
get
to lock in then, don't
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Just put the softs on, bro. That's what Punji
What I'm
told me to
praying
do.
is it's icy because clearly I've got something there, like my special talent.
Is it icy? I don't know. Well, we're gonna find out in a minute, mate.
Yeah.
I can
I'm
tell you
gonna
it's
context.
100% asphalt, bro.
Nah,
I
I've
can
had a
tell
bit
you
of
that,
that.
mate.
Mate, you
For
need to
context,
practice
it's
next
the
week.
first half of the last stage that you... sorry, the stage 2 stages ago. So the long stage that you drove, it's the first half of that.
Oh, my first half was suckish.
Did
Redemption.
that have ice on it or not? I can't remember.
Half of it has ice.
Okay.
Oh,
Take
all
those.
right. Well,
Good luck on that.
the softs are not. I don't think that's worth
Nah,
it.
don't
That's
go for
not
the, don't go
worthy,
for the
really.
top. Don't-
Nah, if
I
you
mean,
do it, I'll
please
do it,
do. It would
Viper.
be very entertaining for us.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm on for my best finish ever. If I didn't suck early on, I'm like 30 seconds off Punchy, which is like
Yeah, I beat Punji once, actually, for the record, guys.
yeah.
Just saying.
Actually, I finished ahead of Vlembar once, so like I think I'm just gonna retire from this rally. I've peaked.
Fighting talk from both of the drivers here. It's well, hopefully it doesn't jinx you for the last stage. But I'm going to say,
Here comes John
very-
Jinx. Jesus.
Yeah, there you go.
John, please don't. John, say that
John,
I'm going
please,
to do
bro.
really bad. Say I'm going to do really bad, and then it will
You guys are
jinx me
going to
pretty
get
well.
1 and 2 in the stage. It's going to be the best stage of your
Oh,
life.
no. Oh, okay. all right,
Incoming
well, thanks, mate.
P200.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Don't worry, it's my pleasure. Best of luck to both of you.
Thanks,
And yeah, just make sure to brake for the corners, huh?
I will. I will try.
Nice for Watson is Back to the Future poster, mate. Roads,
Right.
we're going. We
Stop
don't
it,
need
mate.
roads.
We don't need roads, mate.
Mate.
We do not.
Yeah.
We don't need roads. Oh, okay. All right. Good luck, Viper,
Oh,
mate.
Good
Yeah,
luck
you
to you. The least chaotic interviews we ever have on this broadcast. They're just so I think just happy to drive and talk about driving. We have Punju and Bedroxu into the stage already past the first sector, so climbing up into that hill up toward the snow. It's looking like they're on sort of level pace with each other at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I mean, a lot of the drivers are so close together. We've had it pointed out that we've got 4 drivers in the top 33 that we're literally watching tonight, that's incredibly impressive. And that's why it seems like they're all so close together. Well, because they are.
Yeah, quite literally. They are so close and performing incredibly well. I must say for Punju, he'll be sort of annoyed about that mistake in the first 2 stages because his pace has been all the way up there with the fastest, and I think he targeted this rally perhaps as one of the ones where he could get a brilliant finish overall, not just in the Creator Series standings, but definitely when he goes to rear-wheel drive. That's kind of his thing. That's where he knows that he can push the limits a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we had those 2 stages at the start that were maybe a little bit more on edge, and then they're coming back in, that we reeled it a little bit back in later on, it did mess with Punju a little bit, where he's trying to start flat out, whereas he possibly should have edged it in before going flat out. But now that he's comfortable in the car, the pace that he's demonstrating is incredibly impressive, and it is a shame that we aren't seeing him compete at the top simply because of those mistakes that he made in that first stage.
I'll say what they say every single time in Rally. To finish first, you have to finish. And making a mistake is part of the game, sadly. It could have been worse. It could have been a completely just DNF-like jam. So I think at the end of the day, he does have to count his lucky stars a little bit, that wasn't a double puncture that put him out of the event. But indeed, even though he might be down the order a little bit with that puncture, although not really that much, he will be able to go for power stage points on this one, and it's looking like he's putting a very serious attempt right now at getting all of those 5 points.
Yeah, I mean, every point counts, especially where Punju is in the standings, where he needs to really gain those points to get higher up, because he'll be looking at the championship. And he'll be looking at the championship picture and thinking that's incredibly close. One weekend could switch it. A few tiny little points, like getting the points in the power stage, that could switch it in his favor as well. And so he's going to continue to drive flat out. Not that he would take it any other way, as he mentioned earlier.
Indeed. It's one of those things in the championship where, at the moment, Vlembar has yet to be put under pressure, really, for P1, finishing first of the Creator Series standings in the first 3 rounds. So he has been just incredibly consistent. Bedrock making a small mistake there, losing 2 or 3 seconds, just trying to get the traction, and you can see what it means to him. I need to get back on the throttle. I need to get the grip. He knows that the times are oh so close, and that one little mistake is going to be all it takes to lose the margin necessary for power stage points. And those are the fine margins that we play with now in Creator Series. And I was going to say, for P2 in the championship at the moment, it's going to be an absolute fight, because there's only a few points in it, and there's realistically 5 or 6 drivers that can start overhauling the second place holder in the points at the moment. So
Who is that second place holder, John?
No idea. Moving on, Encephalosis has just taps the wall, and yeah, definitely getting away with it, but taps the wall again. He looks quite intrigued as to why that's happening. I don't think he's very happy with the grip that the car has got on the ice. That Mark II Escort has a lot of power, but it's inconsistent in the grip, and that might be putting a little bit of a dent in his attempt here. As we've got Punju hitting the wall on the inside there, using all of the track and a little bit more as well.
Yeah, hitting the wall can actually give you a tiny little bit of an advantage, and we've seen Punju do it a few times today, where he has just allowed it to he's allowed it to help him with the turn, and that's not going to help him with a big spin in a crucial moment for the power stage, for those extra points. And he's picked up a penalty as well, so that is pretty much at least his race for the win in the power stage over, and you can see he's frustrated.
Yeah, ever since that Season 1 victory, overall, he's been looking to have the consistency. He said that season, consistency was the main part of why I won the championship. And he has just not managed to get it in that same groove that he had that one season. And it'll come back eventually, we all know it. But just those tiny little mistakes creeping in, especially toward the end, at the start and end of the rallies, has been a consistent theme for him. But I think it's just a symptom, really, of the underlying cause, which is the pace getting ever so fast and faster every single time on these Creator Series broadcasts, as he clips the wall as well again.
Yeah, it's the quicker they go, the more pressure they're going to feel. And Punju, who's been around here pretty much since the start, I think he was here since the start of the WRC. It's just, he's felt the pressure mount, he's felt the drivers get quicker, and especially tonight where the drivers have been so exceptional, he's going to be feeling that pressure as once again he goes round in a very difficult spot, actually, where there is a wall one side and a fence the other. So more damage that he's going to forcibly sustain to his car, which is going to lose him even more time and throw him out of contention, if he wasn't already out of contention, for a high spot up in that power stage rankings. But at least he's not retired, because then he can keep going and he can maintain those points that he picked up earlier with the speed that he had. But it's the mistakes at the start and the end that's really thrown him off.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, it just happens that one or two times that, a previous mistake gets to you, or you try and push the pace a little over the limit, and mistakes lead to mistakes. That's the first time I've said that during this broadcast, at least. But yeah, it's one of those fine lines, and this is one of the most difficult stages because you've got all of that power on the rear wheels, and it does have a lot more traction going downhill. So you're encouraged to get on the throttle early, which means that unfortunately at some point you are going to overcook it, as I think we've got Bedrock Zoo approaching stage end. Ancephalosis looks like he's gone for a complimentary spin there, and yeah, indeed, a lot of drivers making mistakes in this final stage here. We saw a lot of that in the overall standings as well, as people like Vlembar making a serious mistake at the end. Lawless as well, who's fought for overall victory in multiple rallies, also making a tiny mistake. Bedrock Zoo across the line, 10-minute 18, which is going to put him just inside the top 20 for the moment, but 30 seconds down on the leader in that stage alone.
Yeah, and I think it's just coming down to they're all trying to push flat out. They see this as, well, it is the end. And it's their last opportunity to really demonstrate their pace. The power stage is pretty much by itself in terms of how you're supposed to take it. It's supposed to be just completely each to their own, fighting it out for the last couple of points that are available over a weekend. Whereas the last 8 stages that we've done, you can manage it. The pace can be there, but as long as you're consistent, you'll be up there, especially in Creator Series, especially tonight, where there's been a lot of mistakes creeping in. However, with the power stage, it's all about those 10 minutes. It's all about this last final section, and I think that's what put pay to Punju's run, at least.
Yes, indeed, the pressure can mount up, as you said, and yeah, it's always a tricky one. We've still got drivers in the stage. I'm trying to keep a track of the times. Let's have a look at GJ. It looks like GJ is going to go fastest into the barrier. That's a way to finish the rally, but the time is registered. He has crossed the timing line, so that's a 10:27. And JPH has indeed gone across the line, I think, on his roof, which is always what you want to see. That's the optimal way of finishing a rally. Thankfully, they do not have to drive a meter after the end of the stage, so no matter if the car has terminal damage, it doesn't really matter for them. And that is GJ very, very close to the top. Trying to update myself on the times here, although RaceNet is not currently playing ball with me.
But yeah, that's GJ getting to the end of the stage as well now, and we've got a few drivers coming to the end. Dark Viper having a big crash into the wall. These two, they've promised something spectacular at the end. They reined in their expectations just before that, but with about a minute of running to go, maybe a little bit less. We'll have to wait and see as they're trying to climb up the hill for the final time today, as Dark Viper hits the wall again, making the same mistake. I think that is in the same place that Punju made a mistake earlier. It's certainly in a similar spot heading up that hill. But yeah, Dark Viper heading around the final corner now to finish his rally.
Fastest so far.
Fastest so far. So he's put on a show in that final power stage. Not that we watched much of it until we caught the end, but he's not quite had that same pace. Down still heading up that hill where Dark Viper made that mistake just a couple of moments ago. Watts is still there, so his time is nowhere near where Dark Viper is. He's 20 seconds behind now, and he's not even up to the line, which would be disappointing with their brotherly rivalry, but there we go.
It's indeed, in terms of the rivalry, disappointing. As across the line, lovely stuff. The pirouette across the line, gotta love it. But in terms of the time, that's actually a competitive time. I think that's faster than Punju on that stage, actually. Just looking for Punju's time. Dark Viper will be kicking himself a little bit because he was... oh, yes. Guats has beaten Punju in the power stage, it turns out, by 1 second. I was going to say for Dark Viper, he'll be kicking himself because he's only 10 seconds off of Vlembar's time, which is currently the Creator Series standings leader on this rally. And so without those couple of mistakes, he could have got power stage points a little bit more. So Unfortunate. Looks like we have our first interviewee in Jam. That's GJ, not LeJam. Where is LeJam? And there he is. Well, it wasn't the greatest of starts for you, but you've made up for it at the end of the rally with some impressive driving. Can you feel like it's a redemption arc complete?
I think so. I think so. I wish I could have done better, but I I try to be I try to be careful and be accurate with the moves. So hopefully, I wish I could done better at the end of the day, but we take what we can get.
Well, it was certainly impressive, obviously, with the driving. These cars never disappoint. So I think you mentioned it was the first time with the Alpine. How did it treat you overall?
It was actually great. Towards the end, I felt that is like yeah, the back end is a little heavy, but it also felt that controlled, if that makes any sense. Like it's weird, but I was initially the reason why, like I said, this is the first time I'm driving it in a long kind of event like this, is because I've been scared of the rear engine kind of tossing me out the cliff all the time. But surprisingly enough, today that wasn't really even the case. I tossed myself into a little ditch instead of the entire cliff, and I got DNF'd instead. So
Yeah, so running off the road like you feared. Yeah,
yeah,
that's not gone well. But apart from that, it sounds stupid saying apart from that, but Rally Monte-Carlo always brings up a mistake like that. It was a very unfortunate DNF from you.
absolutely, yeah.
And
Don't get me wrong, it's such a fun location. Like the icy bits was just it's a fun slip and slide. It's great.
I don't think I can say anything better than that. Can you, Joseph?
No, I think slip and slide is actually a pretty accurate term for it. Because I think everyone seemed to be treating it as such tonight. Everyone seemed to find it a little bit of fun.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Especially if it's not in the real world. If in the real world, I'd be scared shitless. But here, whatever. I have a reset button. It's fine.
A reset button, yeah, indeed, and not the damage costs as well. That Alpine, especially
Exactly.
if
I
it
don't have to
were an
pay for the
original
damage.
one. Indeed. But yeah, well, I think some encouraging pace from you, maybe toward the next round. It's rear-wheel drive as well in Spain. So, do you think maybe something to build on for the next round?
For sure. It being dry would give me a little more confidence to also push farther. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot for me to learn a different, either something that I do different to the rig because of ergonomics, make it easier for me to see things, there's a lot of things that I've been changing every week that I come back that I feel like it's actually making it, for me personally, a better improvement. It's giving me a better overall like outcome, regardless of the number at the very end, right? To me, it's what stays in here is what matters. Whether or not the number is high or not, it's kind of a secondary feature for me, to be honest. But yeah,
A clear case then of green line go up then in terms of
exactly.
your mentality. Yeah, that's well, it's a good mentality to have. Building on experience, it does matter in rally a lot.
100%.
So, yeah, I think honestly, you've done yourself proud on this one. So yeah, good
Thank you.
stuff. Very good stuff.
Until
And,
the next week.
Yeah, hope to see you back. But for now, thank you ever so much for your time.
Thank you.
And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did watching you.
Oh, it was fun. Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. What a nice chap. He's always always happy no matter what happens. And yes, one person who will probably be happy as well. I think our next interview is Bedrock. So let's see if we can get him in and have a little bit of a chat. Now, the last time we joined Bedrock in the commentary box, he was saying everything is going well, and everything was still going well at the end there. A little bit of sort of hesitant moments with the traction and all of that on that last stage, but overall smooth, just losing out by 0.6 of a second, according to this, to Dark Viper on the power stage. So that tiny loss of traction, maybe that one little bit.
You know what? I'm happy with that still. I'll take P2. Fantastic car, great event, great rally. I'm really happy, and I managed to cross the line with most of the car intact. Actually, with all of it. Can sell it
You only,
afterwards.
you only need to be driving half a car anyway at the end. It's
Yeah.
a well-known fact in rally. But indeed, in terms of results, that's impressive. In the Sunbeam as well, I must say. That car is a beast to drive, understeer and oversteer at the same time sometimes. And but it was impressive to see your confidence with it. If we were to do this event again, would you take that car or would you go for something different?
Oh, no question, definitely. I'm sticking with the wedge. It's the best car around.
I didn't know the Stratos was in this one, but indeed, the next event being Spain in Group B rear-wheel drive. Do you think that'll suit you more or less?
It does have my favorite car in the group, so well, in all of Rally. So yes, I'm looking forward to it. Which is the lovely Opel. Or the Vauxhall.
Okay, not the one I was
The
thinking you were
Manta.
going to go for.
The
but
Manta.
sure.
The Manta is the best.
So after bestest box, we go for bestest long boy, I guess.
Yes, exactly. That's the one.
Indeed. So definitely going for consistency over pace in that one, I think, is what you'll be going for.
Yes, yes. I think that strategy worked today, and I think it just works overall. Apparently, rallies aren't just one stage shootouts. Nobody told me that before, so now I know. Keep the car together.
Yeah, the power stage would differ with you, but indeed, Joseph, I'm sure you've got other questions to ask him. I've been hogging the questions again.
That's right. As I said earlier, you know much more than me. But yeah, I was just gonna bring up. You just mentioned about the consistency that you drove with today. Is that something that you did intentionally, or is it just were you focusing on the consistency more than the pace, and you were just hoping the pace would come?
100%. I was actually surprised the pace was also there. From stage one, I was don't hit the wall, don't hit that wall as well, don't hit that tree especially, and so on repeat. And actually, that is, yeah, as I said, it's a lot faster to not hit things and to keep the car in shape. So yeah, I think consistency tags, pace along as well. So happy with that.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Rally Monte-Carlo, as they say, you can't win it based on one stage, and you've done an incredible result. I'm just trying to find your overall time here. P10 overall, actually, at the moment, would you believe? Just behind GJ, so 10 seconds to GJ. So you're currently sat P3 in the Creator Series standings on this rally. So yeah,
Nice.
Consistency. Brilliant stuff.
Very good. Very happy.
Was that above your expectation then, or were you looking for more?
Well, considering my practice consisted of 2 shakedowns, I'm pretty happy.
He's just flexing over here, honestly, Joseph, I think.
And it's the fact that it was your debut race on the broadcast as well, which can bring extra pressures, but you seem to deal with it as if you weren't being watched.
Natural. What can I say? No, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, we hope to have you back here sooner rather than later, especially with that driving. It was spectacular to watch, as were all of our creators today, I'll be honest. These cars never disappoint. And just to see everybody having so much fun with the cars was brilliant. So, yeah, all the best. And yeah, we hope to see you having good results in the future like this one.
Definitely. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. I am so surprised at the amount of excellent driving we have had today. In terms of just people going absolutely flat out, going all the way down to look at all of the leaderboard times there. I think next we have GJ in the interview lineup here. Perhaps. Sorry, Joseph. I seem to have interrupted you there. Aha, IRC JPH, yes, in the interview box now. So, Mr. JPH.
Hello.
In the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus as well. Was it up to your expectations? You've had a great result, it must be said. P12 overall, 3 minutes off the lead, but those obviously esports times at the front. So, can you be happy with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm very happy with that. In this car as well, it's we all know it's not the quickest car is sort of in the middle. So, but yeah, I mean, it helps that I'm very tarmac driver based. It's certainly my preferred surface, and the ice is just absolute fun. So yeah, no, very very happy with that. I was having a good battle with Bedrock until the last stage, where I just didn't quite put it together.
So what exactly happened? Just a spin, or
Slight
just
spin, and generally speaking, that stage is not one of my faster ones. I tend to take it a bit more, probably a little bit too careful at places, just because I know it's quite a dodgy stage and things can go wrong quite quickly.
It's a stage that featured in Dirt Rally 2, and does the fact that the visuals have changed, the layout has changed a tiny bit, does that sort of make it that previous experience on previous iterations has not carried over?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you do get a little bit of carryover from sort of stage knowledge. Like the last sort of sector is very much the same, but obviously where the visuals are, where you haven't got like the snowbanks over the walls, and things like that, it kind of you just get that slight different look to everything, and you have to approach it in a completely different way. But that's kind of the joy of rallying, is that in reality nothing is ever the same when you come back to it in real life. So it's quite a nice feature to have. That stages that were featured previously are slightly different.
Couldn't have said it any better. Over to you, Joseph.
I was just wondering, because it sounds like you've had experience of this on different games. Is there a transferable skill between the two, or are they completely different?
No, there's definitely transferable skills in terms of the way the cars drive, because in my opinion, Dirt Rally 2, when it came out, I mean, bear in mind, obviously on console, we don't have the same sort of sims that the PC guys do. Obviously, like PC, you've got like Richard Burns Rally. Console, we don't have that. So in terms of console, the Dirt Rally 2 was quite frankly the best rally game we'd ever had. And when this came out, there was quite high expectations, and it did bring exactly what I thought. It's just even better. Like, all the physics are just that much sharper. So those skills are definitely transferable from previous games. It's just that you just get that little bit more feel, and everything's just that little bit more realistic, which is, ultimately the best thing for these type of games to go, is just keep getting that realism, that sim, and it just keeps getting more and more enjoyable.
Well, enjoyable is a word that we love to hear in this. And how's your enjoyment been of the broadcast experience overall, this being your debut on the broadcast?
I've absolutely loved it, mate. I mean, as you probably know, I've been kind of wanting to try and join the Creative Series broadcast for some time. I love rallying in general. I do quite a lot of it. So it's been fantastic, and to produce that sort of result on debut on a broadcast, I'll definitely take that one. But puts me in good stead, really, until we hit something that goes completely wrong. But no, I've absolutely loved it, and hopefully I get to come back and do more rallies during the season, because, as I say, I've absolutely loved every minute of it.
Exemplary on track, exemplary in the comms box. I mean, Joseph, unless you've got any further questions, I think we'll leave him on the absolute high like that.
I don't think we can bring him down after that. Be harsh.
Well, indeed, Mr. JPH, has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the broadcast. What a result. What just an example of how to drive well under pressure and not caring one single bit about all of that pressure. So all the best to you. Thank you for your absolutely incredible driving, and we hope to have you back soon on the broadcast.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the commentary in the stream.
It's our pleasure. Thank you. I just love the fact that every single person we're interviewing tonight is just so happy with either their result or just the driving. As we see JPH with just seeing off the broadcast there, the spin of JPH there, I can see why he was a bit frustrated of that that power stage. But overall, it was a great result for him. When you come onto a broadcast like this, it's so difficult to actually master the skill of giving your best performance while also keeping in your head, I'm live on broadcast, so if I go out on stage one, then it's going to be absolutely terrible. So unfortunately for Jam, it happened regardless of whether he wanted to or not. But it's a different experience. So the fact that he's done that good a result is just mind-blowing in my eyes.
Yeah, and there is an extra pressure, even if they're just driving, as they usually would do. You can feel a little bit of pressure. We're gonna get our next driver in, which is going to be Punju, I believe.
And here
if
he
you guys
is.
could do anything. Oh,
To round out the broadcast every single time, we speak to a certain somebody.
Hi.
Who's been in the wars today, it has to be said, but a certain somebody that has given us some of the most on-the-limit enjoyable driving to watch. How's it been for you this rally overall?
On the limit is definitely putting it. I knew I was on the back foot from that first stage, and I really tried hard to catch up. I almost did, but just a couple mistakes and a couple of the other stages kind of took me out. But that final stage, I love Col de Turini, like love it. And so, yeah, I was like going as hard as I could. I think there was that one part where like you're going like left, right, and you're just like keeping it pinned in second, just grabbing. It's amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. It was really fun.
I have to ask the question because you've led me into it, really. Col de Turini Dirt Rally 2 or Col de Turini this game?
I like the ice more in this game. I like the asphalt more in Dirt Rally, which is backwards from what everybody says. But I think overall, I love ice driving and just like slipping and sliding and being wild. So I'd say this game. Yeah.
I tend to agree with that. The ice is just so
fun,
slippy, and so unpredictable sometimes about the grip you can get on it. That's for sure. And we saw in that last stage, fighting against the car, really trying to get those power stage points. I don't think it ended up so well for you on the power stage points, but it's a decent haul of points for you this week.
Yeah, it would have been, and then everybody else decided to be faster than me. I just keep getting like every single time somebody would jump back in the VC, they'd be like, "Oh, I beat you! Oh, I beat you!" All right, cool, that's crazy. So, unfortunately, it stopped being a very good haul of points, but that's all right. You know, we got next week. Is what I'm gonna copium my way through it and hope that everybody crashes in Iberia in those fast cars. We'll see what we. Probably not, but yeah, I'm getting cooked today.
What I'm hearing is you're going for P1 in Spain then.
Oh yeah, 100% every time. Yeah, and it's like a full dry, like bone dry rally, tarmac, high speed, intense road racing. Like literally think of it like a hill climb kind of like style driving, which is I love that stuff. So yeah, that's what we're going for.
We had us sold before, but Joseph, maybe you've got some more questions.
I think we've covered it all, to be fair, and I think that actually segued quite well into the fact that you can preview Spain next week.
Yeah, it's an intense road rally. We'll be in intense cars, the second most intense cars in the game, in my opinion, right behind the four-wheel drive version of Group B. Like the rear-wheel drive Group Bs are just absolute missiles. They're so sketchy as well. And if you do not have a setup and you do not drop this car, slam clap to the ground, and like stiffen up your suspension like crazy, you will be left, right, and center, flipping and spinning everywhere. So I'm excited to see like people just like really nailing their setups and go aggressive with this one because it's high risk, high reward this next stage. And yeah, I want to see people go on the limit.
I just want everyone to have that on record that Punju has jinxed it, not me. Okay, we're keeping that one on record. But indeed, when you think about how they designed the Group B rear-wheel drive cars, let's put 500 brake horsepower with a two-wheel drive car on chassis that were mainly designed to do circuit racing.
Yeah,
shenanigans happen, that's for sure.
100%.
And you're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's gonna be a lot of people that will pick the Porsche because they're brand loyal and they like it because like, ooh, Porsche, cool, right? But that's the first and last mistake you'll ever make. It's such a hard car to drive. You can be fast. Don't get me wrong. I bet you like the top 2-3 times are probably going to be riddled with Porsche. But either you're like peak or you are in the bins with that car. So we'll see what people pick. And I feel so bad for anybody that picks the Manta. I'm crying in advance for you.
Well, Bedrock has already confirmed he's picking the Manta, so there you go.
He needs nerfing after this week, man. That was crazy. He was on fire today. It was insane.
So you heard it here first in the Crater series. We have to nerf certain drivers.
Yeah, that's just the rules. I don't make them. I just follow them. Like that.
Indeed, indeed. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure watching you drive, and once again having just such an enjoyable experience. I think it's been enjoyable for everybody today watching these
Appreciate it.
cars, both from the driving perspective, from our commentary perspective. It's been an absolute blast, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that all of the audience has appreciated watching everybody chucking the cars sideways and trying desperately, sometimes succeeding, keeping them on the ice and on the road.
And many times failing, and that's what's fun about it is all the craziness that comes with going full send. So yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, and thanks so much to the audience for participating as well, for all the community. Like, yeah, we had great participation again for like a really hard car track combo that could dissuade a lot of people. So many people were like, "Nah, I'm ready for the challenge," and like, yeah, big ups to everybody for going after this one. A great rally, and hope everybody had a good time.
I'm sure they did, but thank you ever so much for sparing a thought for the audience. Without them, we wouldn't be doing all of this broadcast, and we do it for them. And we
Absolutely.
hope that, as always, they enjoy it ever so much. But
Absolutely.
Bunju, yeah. Sorry, Joseph. I think I interrupted there. Okay. Well, indeed, Punju, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the comms box once again for a little interview. We hope that someday it will go well in stage one for you. Next week is that week, of course. Doing a
that's-
counter jinx.
Yeah, let's hope you're right, because it seems like I'm genuinely allergic to quality stage ones. So I like that. That'd be really nice. Thanks, guys.
Well,
You guys are amazing. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All the best until next week. Thank you ever so much.
See y'all next week.
Well, what a rally. It had drama right from the word go, right from the first sector, near enough right from the first corner for some drivers, and it had it all the way up to the finish boards, quite literally, for GJ. Any words to sum up this rally, Joseph?
I think it was, well, considering that was my debut rally, I'm hoping that the rest of them live up to that same expectation. I fear that they won't, but yeah, I think we had some of the best drivers that we possibly could have on offer tonight, some of the best drives that we could have possibly had on show tonight.
Indeed, yeah, we had just some exemplary drives. I'm just going to get up the standings for a quick recap of what the standings are so far. We have Vlembar currently in first place, followed by GJ, then Bedrock in third place, JPH fourth place. Switch to page 2. I think next is Ancephalosis in a P5, then Dark Viper P6, followed by Punju P7. I think next on that list is probably going to be Guats with a good result. Just the other pace of the drivers has pushed him down the order on what would be probably a podium scoring position on any other rally. I think in what you said, probably one of the most chaotic but also spectacular events, both in terms of visuals, conditions, cars. It had everything. And indeed, chaotic interviews as well. We had quite a few of those, that's for sure. Rivalries, you name it, it had it. And for more of that stuff, you could always give us a follow on all of the social media platforms that you can see just above our heads right there. We do this every single week on a Monday evening, but we also do Formula 2 and Formula 1 on Friday evenings and Saturday evenings European time. And I think all three of the broadcasts are deserving a watch because they are all spectacular in their own merit. Joseph, any thoughts to finalize this event?
I just think that was exactly what we wanted to see tonight. I hope that's exactly what the audience wanted to see tonight. And I think if it is exactly what the audience wanted to see, which from the sounds of things it was, then everybody had a great evening, because I know the drivers did.
Yeah. It's always fun to see the drivers have so much just banter between them. You could really tell that there were some ongoing battles that we weren't party to in the voice chats there. But I know from experience, there's always a word or two after every single stage. But indeed, next time out, Group B rear-wheel drive in Spain. One of possibly the fastest car and track combos that you could find. It's going to be absolutely flat out action from the get-go, and one of the ones that you will definitely not want to miss. So I think it's about time to wrap up this time and leave you anticipating more for the next time. It's been a pleasure to commentate with you, Joseph, and I hope you've enjoyed the first experience of the commentating booth in WRC. Was it what you expected? I'll have that as the last question.
It was, well, it exceeded my expectations, but that's just because of how the rally went. I very much did enjoy it, and I hope that my presence was appreciated.
Indeed, it was. I can say that with utmost certainty. A secondary question, one to finalize the live stream, is where can we find you on your social medias?
If you basically search into any social media, where is it? There. If you search that into any social media, I'll come up. So any support would be appreciated.
And support him, you should. Thank you. Shout out to Gareth as well, our producer in the background, doing the God's work in terms of putting all of the drivers on the screen with the footage and making sure that everything works. I don't know how he does it, to be fair. But without him, all of this wouldn't be possible. Shout out to all of the drivers. As usual, they've been amazing. For me, if you want to see more crashing, there's definitely a lot of it on my channel. You can follow me at Eyes Amusing there. The name, there it is. Nope, there, center. There we go. And basically all of the social medias. And yeah, it has been my pleasure to present this broadcast for a first time as the lead commentator. I've had an absolute blast. It's been a pleasure. It's been one of the best rallies to watch. But until next time, you will have to wait for some more WRC content. But I can say thank you ever so much for watching, and all the best until next time. Bye-bye.